which apparently will be Bank. We'll have Fnatic starting with the bans.
Yeah, I thought it was Coastline.
I thought it was Coastline too. I swear I saw the number one with the swords
definitely said Coastline.
on Coastline. I just, but we're playing Bank though.
We are, and
Yep.
Ranger was right.
Yes?
I need to say this right now.
Okay.
Last night when talking to Ranger in person, he said, I have a feeling Fnatic is going to ban Lion in both games. And I said, well, NiP doesn't really use Lion as reliably as other teams. You know, I think it'd make more sense if Fnatic was to potentially ban Glaz or maybe even Ying, but they banned Lion. So Ranger, if you're listening, you were right. Anyway, moving on. Dokkaebi gets banned by NiP, and now we move to the defensive side.
Oh, man.
Typically, we will see a Mira here, but I feel like the last time we saw Bank, which was FaZe versus Rogue, Mira was banned. So, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, Echo, Maestro, Mira, these are going to probably be
Probably
along the
Echo
line.
would be my guess, yeah?
Probably Echo, yeah. He's usually the number one go-to, if especially if Mira's banned already. But... who knows? I mean, Fnatic might have a particular idea in mind. Like Ranger predicted, they did get rid of the Lion. And Dokkaebi was banned by NiP, which means a lot of that global utility is gone for the attackers. And the indirect denial also taking a hit here for the defenders, with Echo being banned by Fnatic and Mira, the information game being a little bit shut down there. So this is going to be a pretty standard ban phase, nothing surprising. Big thing here, Hibana was left unbanned. On maps like Clubhouse, maps like Bank, you leave Hibana unbanned, and that means the basement defense is a little bit harder.
Yeah, and look at that. Psycho immediately trotting out the Blitz, so that's something new. Usually we see Julio will play the Blitz, and Psycho will play on more of a support-based Ash roll, or even a Glaz. And there you go, he'll switch off of the Blitz to a Glaz. Something we've actually seen a couple teams do. We actually saw NiP do this quite a bit, where they would have the Monty locked in, and then they'd swap off the Monty to a Twitch. Now we see the Blitz getting swapped off to the Glaz. And no real surprise that a Glaz is going to come out for Ninjas in Pyjamas, one of the few teams that runs him in almost every single composition.
You can see on Fnatic's side, they are compensating for the lack of a Mira and an Echo. Maestro, of course, for the Echo, and Valkyrie and Pulse both for the Mira. Lots of information to be gathered. Plus, in this scenario, you get 2 C4s. So, yeah, it's a little bit extra denial instead of just the one that you would get from Mira. However, it's not as convenient to gather heartbeats, and your cameras can be shot. Of course, the bulletproof cams, the evil eyes from Neo Fighter will not be taken out unless you have an explosive, but still.
That would usually be a sledge that would be run by Ninjas in Pyjamas, but they've got a Zofia there to possibly take care of that as well. We're going to see the rare Bank match where both hard breachers are available for the teams too, so that will be something to keep an eye on. Also an update, the map bans are actually somewhat incorrect. We are going to be playing on Bank, Consulate as the second map, and Border. So indeed we did see both Coastline and Clubhouse banned out, probably by Fnatic.
So that whole little spiel we had at the beginning.
Technically I was right.
Yes.
Technically I was right. I said, why are they not banning Coastline? Well,
Coastline was banned.
Coastline was banned, so technically I was right. I was in terrible.
It was a weird scenario, that ban phase. It was very confusing. But
Console will be very interesting as our second map, and Border is one of NiP's strongest maps as well. So that will be interesting to watch and see how Fnatic is, how proficient they are.
Yeah, we'll find out.
If we make it to a third, of course, which is by no means a guarantee.
Absolutely not. I mean, Ninjas in Pyjamas, last time they went up against Fnatic, looked really strong, and we'll see if they can replicate that here. Now, big thing, lots of roam clearing going on here for NiP. Not a lot of roamers, though. You can see Fnatic is mostly situated, I believe entirely, in fact, situated on the bottom floor, just waiting for the actual site push to come out.
Yeah. And what we saw on Bank yesterday with both FaZe and Rogue was actually quite a large amount of focus on minimal roam games. You might have a Vigil that would be roaming on a stairwell to cause some frustration for the attackers, but that would be about it. Usually, especially with the way Rogue was playing it, they'd keep a lot of bodies on site, and very similar to the way that the old Clubhouse used to play when you would have all 5 of your defenders playing in the safe walls of both bombs A and B.
So now that NiP has cleared out the roamers on the top 2 floors, oh wow, up the main stairs actually, Rizraz, an aggressive play, and he will take out Kamikaze. That is unexpected for NiP, and now they're seeing themselves at a disadvantage, losing a player in the last minute, but also a hard destructor. If those drops are open, though, so it should not matter.
And the Glaz will push up just a very small hole that he can see if there's a peak, possibly that fluorescent yellow light of the outline of Valkyrie as she scampers away. And we'll go for a full rotate. So Magnet working his way around patch coverage from the Jackal as Wog is able to get the plant off, and they will use a toxic bait, but it will be in vain as it is far too late. Neofighter team killing aces as is tradition, but Magnet, who was on the rotate, will take out Julio. He and Rizraz are both up top. They have complete control of the hatches, and somebody will need to be positioned on flank watch. That'll be PZD as well as Wog will shoot through the soft wall. And PZD waiting to jump out, but cannot capitalize on the first few shots. He'll be pushed back even farther into the closet of electrical room, and an impact will reveal him for just a second, and it's a shootout, but he'll manage to prevail as Rizraz gone. Neofighter will get a kill. Diffuse going down for Magnet. Lusty will have to watch for coverage over the hatch. This will be all Fnatic, and the Aussies will lock out round number 1, even though they failed to stop the plant, post-plant. Pretty good.
So, first off, I gotta say, beautiful strategy from Ninjas in Pyjamas. They isolated the roamers. They didn't do it too quickly, too slowly. It was perfect timing, really. They got themselves into the server take. They opened up the server walls, and instead of planting default as is expected, they saw that the Evil Eye could cover default, and the C4s were being thrown towards default, so they shifted their plant spot, used their smoke cover to allow for a close to server stack plant, and that way the Evil Eyes could not deny the defuse plant. So many things done right there for NiP, and then, despite the anti-plant utility from Fnatic not being used properly, they just waltzed into that post plant and massacred NiP. And the retake from the top, or from the main stairs into the middle floor, was beautiful as well. It all started with Rizraz's aggressive push up those main stairs as Legion, getting the Hibana. Hibana was almost certainly the initial flank watch designation, or designated by Ninjas in Pyjamas, and not having that meant that it was harder for them to deny a push coming in from kitchen above server. So great two-pronged retake there from Fnatic, following a great execution from Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Fnatic also had to fight their way through 3 flank watches, as you mentioned, that Hibana being the initial, but then you had the Zofia and the Thermite also tasked with flank watch, and that's because NiP had the bodies to do it. There were still 5 of them alive, so you have 2 watch diffuser, 3 watch flank. You got the bodies to do it, and Fnatic's still able to win that one.
And that's what the two-pronged retake came into play. I mean, we had the guys coming from above on the flank, right? But at that point, NiP had lost so many bodies, so the people on Fnatic who were pushing just straight into sight had a lot easier go of it because they were dealing with less potential barrels pointing their direction. So, again, great job to Fnatic.
A couple things for those that are unfamiliar with Fnatic. Number 1, Neofighter often team kills routinely in scrims, often seen as a sign of good luck for the team. So they started things off correct with Neofighter getting an opening team kill.
Yes.
Also, you might notice that Rizraz has changed his name to Rice Raz, or Rice Riz, and that's because when he was shopping, he saw a thing of Uncle Ben's rice that was called Riz. So now he is Rice Riz, or Riz Rice. I don't know. I'm going
to call him Rizraz.
I'm going to continue to call him Rizraz because that's his actual name.
Yeah.
So for NiP, a good start that ultimately failed in the post-execute. Rizraz, using that ACOG, is daring Psycho, and these are 2 very good shots that will engage each other early on. The Glaz posted up on top of parking garage, where a Glaz typically would be. That's a winnable fight for an ACOG on defense, but it's a pretty big gamble. If it wins, you take out a really huge and looming threat, but it won't, and Psycho is going to get the very first kill. Like I was saying, you take a big gamble, sometimes it doesn't pay off, and in that case, that's going to give NiP a bit more breathing room, but it would have been a much better trade if Fnatic had managed to get the Glaz off rather than just losing a Rook.
It's just about an even fight, but the big difference is on top of that garage, the lighting is a little bit different, and you're very bright there, and it's hard for the defenders to really see you, whereas, of course, Psycho's got that that heat detecting scope. Thermal.
Banana scope.
Thermal optics.
Makes people look like bananas.
And he has a pretty big advantage there, and especially considering the lighting's a little bit darker, it's easier to see the silhouette of the players. However, all of that has already happened, and now Ninjas in Pyjamas putting a lot of focus on this main lobby, which is a good, actually, it's a really good position to take if you're trying to push into the B bomb site on this top floor hold. A lot of the time, teams will get baited into pushing from square, and they'll get torn apart because that's where the defense is situated to hold. And that's what's happening here, so Nip has chosen to go somewhere else.
A lot of times you would have an ACOG play towards Banana or at the hallway where you can see most of Nip is situated just outside of Banana. Of course, they won't be provided that luxury because Rizraz is on Evil Eye and Cam duty for the moment. Psycho is almost in the site as he pops a smoke grenade. It will be answered with a smoke canister. Magnet on a flank. Will possibly look through that long angle just by the vending machine. But he's going to be playing up by the CEO walls, which for the time being, the Hibana of Ninjas in Pyjamas is not really in a position to do too much hard breaching. Psycho's going to continue to push his way in though. He's going to lose a lot of life as a second impact goes in. And that glass very, very low. He'll get down amidst the smoke as Neofighter gets some shots off as need be. Magnet now will tussle with the Hibana from below as Lusty gets reset. Fnatic is in great position. And here we go. Neofighter with 2-3 kills. Neofighter out of nowhere. And last one is Julio. He's got his work cut out for him. Doesn't hold the diffuser, running out of time, and Neofighter, oh my word, what a great round from Neofighter. All but one, if Magnet hadn't gotten that kill. Down in the lobby, a 4K for Neo. Give Fnatic a 2-0 start to this match.
Down the first two in the side hallway, my all those windows, and then finally finished off the third, who was covering, attempting to salvage the round. What a job to Neo, and following the TK. That is exactly what you said.
That's good luck.
It was a boon of good luck. And now Fnatic are up 2-0. Now, Ninjas in Pyjamas, they had a good strategy there, but they stacked up too heavily on the side hallway. And more importantly, what was going on with that glass? Pushing in through that hallway, there's no reinforcements on the, or no barricades on the windows. You have complete line of sight. You're covered by smoke. You know, you have the ability to lay down some fire and do some damage to the defense, but instead walk by them and then get downed, unfortunately. So a little bit of a misplay there for Psycho. Something he's going to have to look at moving forward. And Fnatic feeling very comfortable after winning a CEO defense, widely considered in the past to be one of the worst sites on this map. But as time has played out on Bank, teams have figured out that all of the sites are pretty much viable. Basement's still the standard, but all the other three are kind of in the same area. Now, open area as the next site. Speaking of, we aren't going to see a Teller's Archives yet. Kind of interesting. That's usually the go-to secondary for most teams.
Yeah, open area is typically a site that works very well in conjunction with a mirror being available to a team. And
as well.
Castle, of course. See that the poor man's Mira is often Maestro. They do different jobs, but a lot of teams will just default to throwing a Maestro cam down on a barricade. They also have Val cameras available. So this is tons of intel and ability for them to see the various angles as they push in, presumably keeping Ace's Evil Eyes on site, and then Magnet has the freedom to toss the Valkyrie cams away from the site, which is pretty traditional of Bank. You're usually not going to use those 3 cameras in the site to give you that info. So I'm interested to see how open area is going to shake out, because as you pointed out, it's Teller's Archives that's being ignored at the moment, which is not usual.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but maybe that's what Fnatic is counting on. Ninjas in Pyjamas very aggressively taking control of the top floor. This is actually huge. They've got the soft destruction from Julio's Sledge, and if he stays alive, which it looks like he will, considering there are no roamers in immediate vicinity, then he will be able to wreak havoc on all rotations, potentially for these roamers over by Tellers.
Quick hard destruction here is all the X-Gyros for Kamikaze will be used. You can see the hatches from above being taken out. That will leave Wog as the last hard breacher available. Rizraz will try to get, it looked like he was trying to go through an engagement through the soft wall, but there's nobody there, so I'm not exactly certain what he's doing. Meanwhile, Psycho is pushing his way through the lobby. He finds a castle barricade, prime for the taking. Now, one thing, he was very, very close to getting a free kill as Neofighter rotates. But he can open up lines of sight, as you can see right here. You don't need to destroy the barricade. You can just use that bullet penetration, the caliber of the rifle, to get yourself a line of sight. And that'll be essentially just some pressure on Fnatic to prevent them from possibly moving out. Top floor control in hand for Nip as they look through the open holes. That's Julio who's managed to sledge his way in. The castle barricade that was holding off a push from lobby into Tellers is now gone. The smoke from Psycho will get tossed out, and that's going to give him even more room to push.
Ninjas in Pyjamas have spent a lot of time clearing out the roamers in Archives Tellers, and they haven't actually gotten to the site just yet. You can see Psycho's also used a lot of his smokes trying to get these players. You cannot shoot through that. The nades, though, will do some damage. Neo forced to relocate. Lots of drones, lots of utility, lots of stuff going into getting this castle, and they have yet to do so with only 40 seconds to go. They've pinched him, and he's certainly a dead man, but it's taken a lot of resources to get it there. Julio finally finishing off Neo, but from the stairs, Magnet potentially applying some pressure. The drone is going to force him to rotate, and PZD will also get Rizraz. As the thermite charge goes towards the kitchen, it looks like NiP have a good avenue to begin their final assault. Psycho, an easy kill onto Lusty, and from behind, Magnet, where's the flank watch? Downing one of the NiP attackers, not able to get any more damage done immediately, and it's not going to matter in the end. The final 2 kills out, Ninjas in Pyjamas will take round number 3, and they're first in this match.
And I believe a flawless, because they only got the down on the thermite. They weren't able to capitalize. That's, Michael, I know how much of a fan you are of possibly buffing the damage of the MPX. That possibly could have swung that,
Stop it.
Okay, that altercation, but no. There was no flank watch whatsoever. It was a very linear attack. And I think the biggest focus of why, or I think the biggest reason why all of the focus of Ninjas in Pyjamas was on pushing towards the site was the clock. It was only 15 seconds to go. I know you had enough bodies to have flank watch. Julio was still mid-rotate. PZD was trying to work his way through the double doors into open area from the hallway, the marble stairs, and then you had the Glaz and the Thermite who had just finished his job of opening up the wall, watching one angle while the Glaz watched the other. That was an effortless lockout. It really fell apart when they allowed the Glaz to take the main lobby and just continue pushing, and nobody contested Julio upstairs. You now find yourself in a position where you're essentially sequestered to the back end of the map. You've lost so much map control at that point. You really have to only rely on Magnet on the one flank to possibly pull you out of that situation.
And to build on that, easy solution, 2 birds, 1 stone. Play some roamers upstairs. I mean, you play roamers upstairs, lobby control is denied by proxy, and Julio's not able to simply repel in the first couple seconds of the round. So, a potential solution that Fnatic might need to look at next time they go to open area, but that was only the very first round that Ninjas in Pyjamas have managed to win. So it might be inconsequential, and it was off of a very particular miscalculation by Fnatic. It's something that they can fix moving forward. We'll see if they do, though, next time they go to open area. For now, they can go back down to the basement by virtue of that 3-round site rotation.
This is a site that, let's keep in mind that it was a masterful retake after a masterful play from Ninjas in Pyjamas. So exemplary job opening up the site last time we saw a CCTV attack. But Fnatic played it better and managed to win it on the retake. Can that happen again? You can't always necessarily plan for a retake because there's a lot of variables, but you could get some basic retake fundamentals down. If NiP could have just possibly kept one person who could actually hit their shots on flank watch instead of the 3 who failed to hit their shots, that could have been an easy first round victory for NiP, setting a completely different tone for this game, and that's why I suspect we're going to see probably a more dedicated and aggressive flank watch after they get the plant off.
There was also the fact that there was a gap in how much the Evil Eyes could see, and that's the primary form of plant denial on default spot. Ninjas in Pyjamas found that gap, and they planted in that gap. And now it's been shored up. If you saw earlier, the Evil Eye placement by Neo was so that they could deny the position that Ninjas in Pyjamas planted in the very first round. So now that opportunity, the initial opportunity that NiP had, that they found and they seized, does not exist. And it's going to come down to a much more typical, brawl that we see usually happen coming off of a server take.
Now, for the time being, it does look like they might, for NiP, might be going for an execute onto B here, as A is being almost completely avoided. You've got Psycho who's doing some drone work situated inside of Tellers, but it's very much looking like it could be a B take. The only thing is that the hatch over top of Vault is still solid. Now, you've got a Thermite and a Hibana, so it's not like you're lacking that hard destruction. You have the gadgetry available to take care of that hatch. but there's only a minute left. You're going to have to go for a rotate at some point if you want to, and look at that. They've completely moved over. It's going to be an A take. This is going to be very standard. At some point, NiP decided to change their strategy. The first Toxic Bait will go out. Wog will go for the plant amidst smoke. They're going to have to toss something in a little bit deeper, but look at that. Psycho in a great position. He's got that complete line of sight, but Magnet tosses out the C4. Wog is eliminated. Somebody else will be tagged in to grab that diffuser. It'll be PZD. The Zofia will pick it up and go for a plant in the same spot as round number 1, but there will be no C4 this time unless Lusty tosses it out, and I speak too soon. He'll go back to doing recon duty as another plant going down. Psycho, you're up next. Who's going to be able to get it? A dead body shot out from Magnet. He'll push up glass, tries to escape. He'll be traded off by Kamikaze. That's aerial support as Ninjas in Pyjamas has full control of the hatches inside of open area. Fnatic will have to go for a post plant and will look to rotate. Neofighter had done a great job of getting an angle up with that Alda LMG. He's going to have to make sure there's nobody up there, but Julio will take out Rizraz, and the flank watch for NiP appears to be working this time around. It's just Lusty and Neofighter stacked up. Can they try to bait out a plant? Or bait out the defuse? My apologies as a flash comes down. Neofighter goes for some suppressing fire, but they're running out of time. Plant is going down. They'll have to stop it, but Kamikaze shreds Neofighter. Magnet or Lusty will fall off, and Kamikaze is there. This is what we needed. They denied the rotate from Fnatic up top to the main floor, and Kamikaze able to save the day for NiP and tie it up at 2 apiece.
Honestly, I gotta say, that was a pretty big throw from Fnatic. You know, we're looking at that situation. Conventional wisdom says that Ninjas in Pyjamas have 2 alive on the drops, and they should be able to dictate the engagement. But the position the diffuser was planted is easily coverable. The main thing is that Kamikaze was playing in the hallway leading up to small office drop, and that can be cut off by any defender just holding the angle. It's an easy kill. If in that scenario, instead of panicking, the Maestro had held the rotation from open area into small office, Kamikaze gets dispatched on the very first wave, and all the while the Pulse is sticking the diffuse disable, and then the final attacker, he either has to go through that very same doorway, or he has to drop through the hallway drop elsewhere, and that's an easy rotation for the Maestro, just to reassess the angles a little bit. And that could have been a pretty standard clutch for Fnatic.
Bomb located by
it wasn't exactly handed to him. It wasn't exactly handed to them, and they didn't exactly throw it away, but it was not inconceivable.
I'm not certain if the Aldo was out of ammunition or not, but pulling out the Bailiff and trying to get that close quarters engagement on the Hibana, all you really need when the head is exposed is 1 shot. You're not going to get that with the shotgun revolver, but you're going to get it with the LMG. That could have possibly been Kamikaze falling and a 1v2 for NiP instead of a 2v0, which NiP ended up winning.
See, that's the thing. The LMG was out of ammunition, but it was following some random spray through the drop, not getting anything done. Either way, what's done is done, and now Ninjas in Pyjamas will get 2 rounds in a row, bringing the score to 2-2, and we will go back to CEO for Fnatic.
So they're actually going to throw up a bit of a change here. They had an opportunity to go back down to CCTV. As you mentioned, they will go to CEO, which was a site they won too. They managed to do this despite losing Rizraz early on when he took that engagement with the Glaz playing on Parking Garage. It doesn't appear that Rizraz will try that this time around as he's playing behind a deployable shield in the conference room. He's going to look towards the windows where you can rappel up by the main door of the lobby. So it's going to allow Psycho to just freely push without worry of possible return fire, but it's also going to leave you with an operator with a long range of distance on that gun to possibly play without having him get lost. Because the only other ACOG available is, of course, Aces. Here's a big difference, though. NiP last time around had decided to push B. This is going to be an A take. Neofighter is going to get downed, possibly by the Glaz. And Julio now up on Repel. Rizraz will get finished off. Neofighter is down, so this is very good at the moment for NiP, as a grenade will finish off the down Neofighter. That's good use of utility to secure that kill, and Julio will push Ninjas in Pyjamas into a 5v3 with still half of the round to go, so some pretty good time management here for the Brazilians.
The last 3 defenders for Fnatic are positioned well around the meeting hall and storage rooms. They cannot directly deny any potential pressure from the windows. That's the big thing. You can see Psycho going for Repel on those windows. Magnet's going to run into the hallway and get a double kill. Magnet absolutely on fire right now, and he just secured an entire flank for his team, allowing for them to put their backs up against a wall and fight back tooth and nail against this NiP assault. You can see Ninjas and Pyjamas are mostly situated around the main square hallway and on those windows. 2 players on North Rappel right now, leaving Wag alone in the building. Julio and Psycho looking for some potential angles while Wag just holds the flank, tries to deny any pressure. Psycho going to lay down some gas or some smoke grenades, but will be countered by Lusty's gas grenades. So no repel available. Psycho goes for the repel and CEO regardless of no cover, and it doesn't look like Fnatic is covering it. Looks like Ninjas and Pyjamas have a good position in the site right now. A down onto Lusty and a finish off for Psycho. Magnet from the main stairs. He's too far back to influence this. Aces is going to be the next layer of defense, but all the while, the defuse plant is going down. A spray from Aces will net the kill of Psycho, but still, Julio on a good position all the way in main square hallway will get the kill onto Aces, leaving Magnet in a 1 versus 2. He's going to have to get at least a 4K to win this out. He's so close to his opponent, but he doesn't even know it. Nice flick there onto Wog. He only needs to find 1 more, and he could potentially stick the defuse disable here. Julio is aware of this, and he's going to reposition to Meeting Hall. But that has likely given away his play. C4 fake out to cover sound, and Magnet's going to start aggressively peeking into Meeting Hall. Will he find it? He will! He might still have time to deny the defuse, and he's going to start sticking it now. It's going to come down to the very last seconds. This could go either way, but likely a Fnatic winning. Yes, the defenders win it out. Fnatic take the round and put themselves up 3-2, winning the first half.
I like this about Fnatic. You can tell, look at them. No fist bumps, calm. This is business. This is business as usual. Don't let your emotions get in the way of it. Obviously, a little bit of a flex from Magnet, and Aces the cheeky smile as always. They'll take the first split 3-2. That was a situation that was very winnable for Fnatic until they allowed Psycho to just repel right into CEO. And that was covered by both Julio as well as Wog. Julio then repelling in 2, and there's just nobody to cover. Lusty was the only man that was playing inside a banana that could have possibly seen the glass, but Psycho smart enough to toss down that smoke grenade and cut off that clear line of sight that the smoke had. And even the Toxic Babes, though they can do a good job of pushing off a glass, he repelled in through another window. Ultimately, this has been the story so far. Even in the rounds that they've lost, I've really liked what I've seen from Ninjas and Pyjamas. They've been executing so well, but Fnatic's retake and post-plant play has been remarkably strong today.
I have to say, Fnatic look liberated compared to how they had been playing previously in the tournament.
Right.
And it's great to see them this way. It's great to see Magnets play there in that last round, just seeing a hole and making it work for him. Good job to Magnet for that clutch. Definitely the single reason Fnatic managed to win the round. Of course, playing Valkyrie with using that MPX gun that does not need a buff at all.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure about that.
I don't know.
Now, Fnatic are going to be switching sides here. They will go on to attack after winning the first half. Ninjas and Pyjamas starting things off with a basement hold.
Right now, Fnatic is exceedingly top-heavy, as you can see yourself. I don't really need to highlight the fact that both both Magnet and Neo Fighter.
I'm sorry.
You used to call him Neo Typher.
Neo Typher.
And I never made fun of you.
Neo
I call him whatever I call. Anyway, so both Magnet and Neo Fighter have had some pretty impressive rounds where they have been able to shoulder all of this weight for their team. The real question is going to be, Bank, is it a more attacker or defended-sided matchup? And then in addition to that, with the bans that the way we see, with a Lion and Echo being taken out from Fnatic and then the Dokkaebi Mira being taken out from NiP, does this swing this one way or the other? Should Fnatic be running up the score in attack? Should NiP have walked away with more rounds there?
I honestly have to say I don't think this is a decisively attacker or defender-sided map. I think that this is a pretty even map. If you look at the in the grand scheme, you know, the weight of the operators on each side, whether they be attackers or defenders, does not outweigh the amount of space there is to maneuver those operators within the map. It's like, look at way back. Easiest example, way back when House was a thing. House was great until Blackbeard came out. When Blackbeard came out, terrible freaking map. So, and because it became entirely attacker-sided, just like that. So, the influence that the operators have on this map exists still, yet at the same time, there's so much to work with that it's not overpowering for either side. All that said,
right, you are, Michael.
It's just a really well-rounded and tactical map as well. So, Fnatic, top 4 control. opening up these drop downs. There are some roamers for Nip. They are playing inside of Kitchen. Kamikaze and PZD both right now trying to hold on to this Kitchen position. And that's actually an interesting play. It's not the easiest thing to do, especially now that Neo is coming from their side, applying a lot of pressure. Here comes the nade, well cooked. It'll land in the middle of those two defenders, but do no damage as Kamikaze and PZD are dispatched. PZD manages to bring one player with him. It was the Hibana, and one of the drop downs was not opened up, so that's a pretty big kill. There's still a Thermite, but he's likely going to have to dedicate those charges to the server wall. We'll find out what Fnatic choose to do, though, as we come down to the last 40 seconds.
And that's a pretty critical hatch to leave reinforced. So unfortunate that Rizraz would end up in that position, but a rotate from Psycho that is a bit puzzling will be caught by Magnet, and that is Fnatic expanding upon this lead. One of the exothermic charges will be used on that drop hatch and will open them up, being able to give them an even greater line of sight into the bomb site. And now with 20 seconds to go, I would imagine that this is when we're going to see the full-blown execute. But this is a risk. An exothermic charge on an unreinforced wall, prime opportunity to shoot it. But no, that won't happen. Right now we see Lusty going for the plant as Magnet now trying to push in. This is Fnatic realizing that they have the numbers to just bully the site players. Neo with one, but Wog will somehow outduel him, and two for Wog. But plant goes down successfully. His evil eye disabled by the EMP, and a very, very low HP operator left for Nip to give Fnatic what could be their fourth round. But around the bomb, Wog will play with a line of sight through a soft reinforced wall. All Fnatic needs to do is not lose their head, but for Wog, he'll have to get quite aggressive, but he doesn't see. Aces is right there! What? They're on top of each other! He's circling Aces! How does he not see him? Wog will push up, but Lusty will end his suffering, and Aces none the wiser. Rainbow Six, why are you there? Will continue on, and Fnatic will close out the first round of their attack. Aces wears glasses. He should have seen that. You literally have better vision.
Oh, boy. All right, so Fnatic, 4-2 now after that victory. They are one step away from match point, just a single more round, and they look like they've got the momentum in their corner. We saw just one match prior, the rematch go the favor of the previous loser, and Fnatic was the one to lose the original Ninjas in Pyjamas versus Fnatic match. So this could be that very same story coming true. It also could be Fnatic being more proficient on Bank, so that's something we have to keep in mind. Now, we are going to see a Magnet actually 6-pick off of the Blackbeard onto a Jackal. We've been seeing Jackal played actually a lot by both teams so far, as he is a great operator to have in your corner on Bank, able to hunt down those roamers with ridiculous proficiency. Now, Ninja's going somewhere we haven't been yet, the Teller's Archives. And I like that we're seeing all of the sites played on this map. I really do. If not by one team, but by both.
It's a lot of variance.
I mean, it used to be, back when we had the two-site rotation, and, you know, before the meta was really fully fleshed out on any map, it used to be that we were just two maps, same two maps every time, or two sites rather. And you would see those same two sites repeat, repeat, repeat. And I like that on most maps now we get to see everything.
I know that we like to focus on a lot of the different changes that came with the new Pro League rule set. Operator bans, the shortened or condensed map pool, the best of ones in Pro League, yada, yada, yada. But I think one of the most impactful has been this site rotation.
Yeah.
Because it forces teams to possibly take unorthodox strategies and bring them to sites that may not be considered the most defendable in comparison to their counterparts. It forces teams to have to be more flexible, and I think it really shows the teams that are better because it makes you have to be more practiced. It widens that skill gap between the top teams and the lower teams.
Yeah, and unorthodox does not mean impractical, and that's something that people often forget. Oh. Psycho first kill of the round onto Magnet, and already your main roam hunter, the Jackal, eliminated.
That's a very unsuccessful roam clear, and it will get even worse. Ninjas in Pyjamas somehow rebuffing Fnatic and Kamikaze, a two-piece inside of CEO office.
Okay.
Fnatic's round is all but over a minute in. Still winnable. You've got the ultimate duo of the Thermite Thatcher, but you just designated two people to entry along with a drone, and you couldn't find a kill but also lost 2 of those people. That is a catastrophic beginning for round number 7.
You also had the Jackal as well. I mean, that's like the roam hunting operator, and it just didn't work out. So Aces and Lusty gonna have to find a hole somewhere that they can exploit, but I seriously doubt that's gonna happen. The defense from Ninjas of Jams is very stalwart right now. Psycho downstairs is going to die as he attempts to flank where he believes those final 2 attackers to be. And now, he did die, you lost the body on defense, but you've also gained a lot of information. You now know the last 2 attackers on Fnatic are downstairs, and you can position yourself accordingly.
Yeah, there's no way to ascend through those open hatches, so you just need to put a couple bodies on the stairwell control, and there you see there was a Legion mine that was originally not in the stairs, will now be put there, and it will give Kamikaze an even more powerful position to play in as he finds Aces. Lusty last man left. He'll outduel the marble bars, but Julio in sight will get the final kill for Nip, and that will be a pretty easy round for Ninjas in Pyjamas, all things considered. It was essentially a guaranteed victory within that first minute. You never say never, but that's as pretty close to a sure thing as you're going to get to start off a round. It's going to also give Nip a bit of momentum heading in to round number 8, as they haven't really had the same success in this game as they did in the previous matchup against Fnatic.
Yeah, Jackal was the ice pick, the rest of the players were the rope, and you have to ascend the mountain without either of them. It's just not going to happen. Now, Ninjas of Pyjamas needed to win that round. If they had not, it would have likely been a complete sweep for Fnatic. So now they keep themselves in the match. That's the big thing. Staff room, open area, their next choice for defense. You see the operator selection. The big thing here is that there's no Mira. The reason that open area becomes a lot more difficult is the lack of that Mira. So you have to pick operators that can either A, prevent your opponents from getting to the site in the first place, or B, can have supplemental information gathering / denial of diffuse plants, just like Mira does, but it's never going to be quite the same. You saw Fnatic on their defense half. They were going for the supplemental choice where they would bring the Maestro, the Pulse, the Valkyrie. They wanted to get information. They wanted to deny the diffuse plant. They didn't have the Echo, of course, because he's banned as well. But Nip looks like they want to do a little bit of a mixture here. You've got the Ela and the Vigil, and those are more leaning towards, hey, we're going to roam heavy, and we're not going to let you near the site in the first place. But they could also just play them on the site, or they could run out on the back alley. Psycho missing his shots, but attempting to brave the fierce waters of being detected outside.
Psycho's sensitivity is almost nauseating. It's so fast. Just the ability to flick around with little movements of his hand is it's really something. It's a very fast mouse speed in comparison to what we see from a lot of other players. It's always interesting to see, what players feel is most comfortable, but Psycho and Latin America as a whole all have very high sensitivities in relation to the rest of the regions, and the crazy thing about is very high.
Yeah, the crazy thing about Psycho's high sensitivity is that he's really good with it.
Yeah, he makes it work.
Yeah. Now, top 4 control already in hand here, looks like, for Fnatic. Most of the Nip roamers are actually playing pretty passively downstairs instead of on that top floor. You've got Kamikaze all the way in the basement, and then everyone else from Nip is just playing a horizontal roam game. It looks like Kamikaze is actually looking for an opportunity here. He might have been prompted by some sound from that attacker at the top of main stairs. Meanwhile, Fnatic just using their vertical pressure to the best of their ability. The big thing, of course, is that most Kitchen does not have a destructible ceiling, so that's why you're going to see 4 anchors right now from Nip inside of Kitchen, just waiting for the assault to come.
Possibly even trying to draw out the fact that Psycho being Jackal tracked is just stationary, but he'll rotate now as the Jackal track will wear off. He'll work his way through Archives into Tellers and could possibly provoke a confrontation, as now he's at the main Teller's desk. He's in a good position, possibly, to even jump out and spring a surprise onto Magnet, who, speaking of, will get a kill on the Kamikaze, and that's a very long angle. For some reason, the Legion trying to get back to site from the marble stairs. That's Magnet playing inside of the loan office, will be able to get the kill. But if Magnet chooses to go through the double doors, which it looked like he was, Psycho was there, and we know how proficient a shot Psycho can be. Magnet with a bit of patience, as it's just a minute to go, and the cloaking device for Psycho will go on. He sees a drone in the drone hole, but it's a wise choice for him not to bother to shoot this. It will give his position away, and of course, it'll be the audio cue of the gunfire. He will get droned out from Neo, though, and you can hear the bullet shot. That's Magnet being alerted to the fact that there is a somebody, presumably that Vigil, playing inside of the teller's desk.
We don't want Fnatic to get too distracted by this roamer. Psycho doing a lot of work just staying there. PZD's going to get Neo Fighter as well. And that's a lot of soft destruction gone for Fnatic. 23 seconds left. There's not much time here. They have to start an actual assault onto the site, but you see they have 3 players trying to hunt a roamer by tellers. This cannot be happening right now. Smoke Grenade's going to go down from Magnet. Psycho comes back to site and gets Magnet as he attempts to push in. Low HP Lusty, and the diffuser's not being planted just yet. In fact, Aces is sticking it. He's managed to hold up the timer, but it looks like he will be downed in that plant attempt. A little bit of a lost focus there for Fnatic. They were just trying to push a roamer over by tellers, and they got distracted. They didn't pay attention to the clock.
Dreadful time management from the Aussies, and a really remarkable job from one member of Ninjas in Pyjamas to completely derail obvious executing strategy that Fnatic had. This was a big round, though, for Fnatic. We talk about momentum in this game in general and the ability to bounce back mentally after a good start. You've got Magnet and Neo Fighter who are doing more than enough for their team. Magnet also doing so while working through and trying to give calls to his team too. But that could have been a very demoralizing round. You basically got held up by one person. And now you risk the possibility that Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to find that momentum and just carry on right through. This could have been a crucial blow to Fnatic's chances at taking bank, but we'll see if they'll be able to stick to it. Because of that site rotation, CCTV was never won. So we can see Ninjas in Pyjamas go down there, and they're going to bring a Capkin, which we mentioned yesterday. When you bring a Capkin, it means that every single subsequent round, you have to check every doorway because there could be Capkin traps there. And even though they're not lethal anymore, it's still a pretty significant chunk of health that they take out of every player that doesn't do their due diligence to see if there's an EDD on the other side of the door.
And the mental game is definitely emphasized at a LAN event. You could say the cap LAN makes a lot more sense because you see one trap, you shoot that trap, and then suddenly you're thinking about traps for the rest of the match, or at least the rest of your attack rounds.
Right.
So it's something that Fnatic are going to have to take into account. The thing is, though, Psycho's bringing it out so late in the match. The only way that it's going to really matter too much is if we do actually get to that overtime. We'll find out, though. We're not there yet. Could still be just a complete shutout for either team. They only need 2 rounds in order to win from here on out for either side. So, see what happens.
This roam is going to be very important, by the way, for NiP, I suspect. Because if we can see Fnatic clear it out as quickly as they did the first time that they attacked CCTV, it didn't really leave a lot of help for the site players. And NiP plays so all or nothing on their roamers, succeeding in the early stages of a round, that this would be Fnatic just able to possibly collapse on the site again and move them to match point.
Yeah. PZD, the roamer on the top floor, going to come back to Kamikaze in open area. Magnet able to force those defenders down. So well done there from Fnatic. They've managed to get the control that they really needed. Rizraz is actually really close to danger, as is Magnet.
Whoa.
You can see some shots there onto PZD. He's actually going to do a lot of damage. Just 2 bullets there from C7 onto the hands. Will put that L on half HP.
And they're tracking the lesion, but PZD is now pinned down in open area with no real signs of escape. Of course, Ella does not have the impact grenades anymore, which means that they can't just get PZD out of there as quickly. Of course, with the hatches also being reinforced, Kamikaze does appear that he's got one of those hatches open, so maybe there could actually be some salvation as PZD will post up. Psycho working his way up the stairs could possibly get a kill, but no, it's Kamikaze who pops up like a jack-in-the-box, and both Neo Fighter and Magnet are felled in one quick swoop of action. And those are both of the heavy hitters from Fnatic, which could potentially be a very bad situation. Psycho will now finish off Rizraz, and this round is all NiP. That roam game that I said they play so all or nothing on is very much all, and Fnatic is currently on almost nothing, though they did manage to get Kamikaze. There's just a minute to go, and once again, Lusty and Aces, last 2 alive. That Thermite Thatcher duo with utility and some modest fragging potential, but they're going to have to swim through some pretty rough waters.
Yeah, Lusty's still on the top floor. There's nothing up here for him. You can see that Psycho is roaming pretty heavily on the stairs, but Lusty sees PZD through the drop down. Nice Evil Eye placement, but it is easily dispatched by Lusty as soon as he notices it. This drop is huge because we do have a roamer, that's Psycho, who's on the main stairs, and at any moment Psycho can come up behind these final two attackers, and it does not look like they're aware of this. As the Thermite charge opens up the drop down, there's only 16 seconds left. The timing here for Psycho's Capcan is going to be incredibly important. Ace is down as he drops, and we'll get the final kill onto Aces as Julio takes out Lusty. So no need even for the flank, just a complete shutout as soon as the attackers force their way through the drop down. And I think you said it perfectly, that round was all ninjas. Fnatic really not showing up for the last couple.
No, this roam clear that we've seen over Fnatic on attack has been really lackluster outside of that first round on CCTV. It was funny because on the very first attack round, Fnatic had a pretty, a pretty strong entry. But then after that, it completely fell apart. It's nothing more obvious than when they were trying to figure out the two roamers that were playing upstairs in the CEO office. They committed 2 bodies to it, and a drone, and a jackal. And despite all of that, they still came out empty-handing. Fnatic obviously realizing that there is trouble a-brewing and facing match point possibly going down 1-0 on Bank here, moving to the second map of Consulate. They will take a tactical timeout. Now, this is where it's very important that if you're Fnatic, you keep your head as level as possible, because you've already kind of lost momentum. I feel like NiP is fired up at this point. They know that they can really take advantage of Fnatic's entry, as disjointed as it may be, and that can just swallow you up and totally consume you. So Fnatic are going to obviously need to refine their entry strategy because they're failing the moment they get into the door.
Yeah, you can see Dizzle behind them right now, giving them some words of encouragement, I'm sure, and trying to flesh out the strategy for the next round, make sure everyone's on the same page. Now, right off the bat, a Cav pick, that kind of strikes me as odd. I'm guessing it's going to be 6 picked off because it's initial pick. Usually if you want a Cav in play, you want to 6 pick into the Cav to try and give a little bit of, try to catch your opponents off guard. Here's the big thing with Cav is that if you get an interrogation, great. But you're not going to get an interrogation if the opponents know that Cav is in play. If Cav is known to be in play, then you force your attacking opponents to be a lot more together. There's never going to be someone who's off on their own doing their own little thing. And that is actually probably what Ninjas and Pyjamas are counting on. They're probably trying to psych out Fnatic and force them to play in groups rather than having any solo roams. Of course, the 6 pick will happen, as predicted. Psycho onto Alibi, which is an operator that, while it doesn't bring a lot to the team, can frag out pretty heavily. And as you can see, Psycho is doing just that, with 10 kills so far in this match. Fnatic bringing a Blitz to the field and a Finka. That is an oddity. You do not often see Finka played. The big thing, of course, is that you combo a Finka with a Blitz, and you can get some really fast ADSs there from the shield, potentially extremely lethal, but you're betting a lot on that, bringing 2 operators just for that one formula. And it's definitely a combo, but I don't know if it's powerful enough.
I've said this exact phrase before, but this is put all your eggs in one basket style of deal. Of course, Finka getting a bunch of different changes. Number 1, she's going to have 2 frag grenades now. She got they're on loan currently from IQ. In addition to the buck, that means that there will be 4 frag grenades on the board for Fnatic. It also will empower that Blitz, as was mentioned. This is a very uniquely Latin America strategy, if I may say so. We have seen a number of teams in LATAM, most notably Pain Gaming, that have run this strategy, and there are Brazilian teams that have really struggled against it. Bootcamp has used it too. But Lusty, as the buck, will be 2 pairs of frag grenades that will see nothing. As Psycho gets the first kill, Neo tries to work his way in as there's a Finka boost in play, but of course, the Finka boost does make you much more susceptible to those toxic babes, and a smoke thrown out from Vogue will be very crucial. Psycho just completely running over Fnatic at the moment. Neo works his way in, but it's PZD there, and this round is all but over, all or nothing, and it's once again gonna be nothing but Rizraz in sight. We'll take out 2, but that will be it. NiP fired up, ready to go, 1-0. They'll take Bank and move us to Consulate. Fnatic really let that one slip, and NiP caught fire at just the right moment.
Absolutely right, Parker. That was pretty much said and done. I think for the last 3 rounds, though, it's looked said and done. Fnatic were unable to recover as soon as they stumbled even once. That's the big thing. I think the trend line for Fnatic is that as soon as they have a little bit of a trip, it becomes a stumble and a fall, and they can't get up.
Yeah. And we've seen this time and time again with a team like Fnatic is once they find themselves stuck in that mud, there's just nobody to pull them out. Look at their matchup against Liquid. They started off really well, but they had probably the most vocal member of their team. Magnet had a bit of an underperformance on the first map, all the way back in Atlantic City, and then the rest of the team just couldn't find that sixth gear. And they, most importantly, couldn't help bring him out of that rut. There are a couple highlights for you to take a look at as we break down exactly what happened in particular on Bank. Now, you said that it was more of an even matchup. There were only 3 attacking round victories, which is very surprising, and actually a lot of that is credited to the fact that there were 4 consecutive defensive victories from NiP to close out the map.
Yeah, I would have to say that's the big thing, because usually, I mean, when you don't have a Hibana band on Bank, it's a little bit more even, or it should be. Again, that's the conventional wisdom, but it didn't shine through in this match in particular, and Fnatic definitely struggled when they were dealing with those attacks. I mean, just in general, Fnatic seems to have trouble going into the second half. Coming off of their first half, this is still funny. Coming after their first half, they were actually victorious, if I'm not mistaken. They ended that 3-2, but they couldn't make anything happen going into the second.
Really, the biggest stumbling block for Fnatic was that roam clear that we talked about. Whether it was droning, whether it was the investment in time, whether it was the communication that was coming in, ultimately, that's where everything fell apart. And if you want to look back and do, an autopsy on that defense or that attack rather, for Fnatic, it's gonna start with how cold all of the entries were. Losing Magnet early on, losing your Jackal early on, losing Buck early on, which was mostly played by Neophyter. Not just losing 2 of your best fraggers in that matchup, but also losing 2 very crucial operators early on. There wasn't even really a dedicated site push from Fnatic, except for the 1 round on open area, and even then it happened in the final 5 seconds.
Fnatic got psyched out. Following losing 3 roam clearers on the top floor, their roam clear was just non-existent. I mean, they tried, but they got psyched out. I mean, look at Magnet playing in small office that 1 round when they were clearing open area roamers, like you said, and Psycho was playing in the tellers, and he delayed for several minutes of the round. Magnet could have pushed Psycho at any point and taken that fight, initiate the 1v1, but instead he waited and sat in small office while his teammates circled around that roamer Psycho, allowing Psycho maneuverability. And he just went back to side at one point, and it was over. But it's all said and done. Hopefully, Fnatic will not get psyched out in this map. We go into the second map, of course, Consulate. We will have NiP banning first, Fnatic banning second. Thermite and Lion are gone. Thermite on Consulate means that the basement is going to be really fun to defend. And that's pretty much all it means. Thermite's not really useful on either of the other sides. I mean, he could be used, but he's not really that great.
Right, we saw a lot of teams, once the Thermite gets taken off the board, it means that attacking that garage wall, which is going to be a pretty big foundation on which you lay your defensive strategy, is a lot more difficult. Yeah. It's much easier to ban a trick X-Karos, number 1. Number 2, you are going to have more flexibility with the fact that Hibana's gadget has 3 rounds of X-Karos, but you're primarily going to focus that on hatches or possibly even a push outside of that main garage wall. We've seen a lot of teams just completely ignore a garage push, maybe put somebody on yellow, and then have everybody else try to work on Spiral or even Visa.
Yeah, because the big thing is even if you do get your Hibanas in the perfect spots on the garage wall, it's still you're forcing yourself into a bottleneck at that point. Now, here we go. We're seeing exactly what you would expect following a Thermite ban. Ninja's Pyjamas going downstairs first. Stands to reason. They're basically going to be counting on this basement hold being a free win. Now, whether or not it will be depends on how Fnatic chooses to address this strategically. You can see there, ooh, that might be a bad 6 pick. Oh, no. So, okay. So, at first, I'm seeing Blitz. I'm saying, okay, Fnatic are anticipating a garage hold first. But then the 6 pick into Blackbeard. The worst site for Blackbeard on Consulate has to be basement. But he is definitely a universally useful operator on this site, on this map. But the basement is not great for him.
You can post him up on yellow stairs and have him do coverage there and peek around the doorway. But that's really your best bet. Maybe have him hold the doorway. But of course, on Rappel and on Windows is going to be where you get the most value out of a Blackbeard. There's going to be lots of avenues that the defenders have to body shot the Blackbeard, which completely negates his advantage, unless he can land those shots on you faster than you can tear through that body. And of course, with some high-powered rifles on defense and high levels of those RPMs. Rounds per minute, of course. Nip shouldn't have much of a problem. I would have much preferred the Blitz as well.
Yeah, because you're thinking about it like this, and it's like you got aces on that Blackbeard, and now what he can do is, as you said, he can post up on yellow stairs, he can deny any potential bandit tricking. Now, of course, there is no bandit, there's a mute, but still, he can deny that. He can get those bandit batteries, or he can get those mute jammers on the garage wall, allowing for your Hibana to open the garage wall. However, we come right back to, there's no Thermite, you just have Hibana. You don't necessarily want to use Hibana on the garage wall. It's kind of to your own detriment at that point. It's not really a lot of maneuverability options there. So you bring a Blitz instead, you come through locker hallway, you have that firm pushing power that you can just get your way in through the locker hallway, and yeah, that could theoretically be the strat, but Fnatic looking like they're unsure what they want to do here on this garage attack.
That's always a bit of a frustration when you try to shoot out some of the panes in the barricade. You can't get your drone through it, and maybe you have to go back to the drawing board. It's definitely doable. It just kills a lot of time. And with how Fnatic's time management has been, they haven't really had a lot of time to spare in a lot of these rounds, especially on attack. You'll clear out that second floor first, and it does look like they have full control of it, so they don't know it, or they might not know it at this exact moment, but both Neofighter and Rizraz up top, this is Zofia and the Buck, will be pretty crucial. This is a long-range grenade from Neo that just gets dropped all the way down from that second floor. It's the Skeleton Key doing as much environmental destruction as it can. Tries to take out the Evil Eye, but I believe it might have missed. They'll manage to get the Evil Eye this time around. Neo taking just a tiny bit of damage. So those little mistakes right there can really add up. But first kill, the mute is gone. PZD uses a C4, and then through the open hole from the Skeleton Key, tries to return fire, but Neofighter secures the kill, and that's not necessarily a good roam clear because PZD was in the site, but that's a good start for Fnatic, which is what they desperately need.
Psycho and one other, believe that's Wag, also playing close to the spiral stairs, though it looks like they may have been droned out, forcing them to push back. Wog's going to start moving his way over to Visa stairs, could potentially get a flank, but again, droned out. Good information here for Fnatic. Julio going to get Neofighter through a nice angle, looks like on the drop down that was opened up by Hibana. Magnet playing by the Visa stairs. He is the late flank. He needs to come at the right moment if he wants to do any damage. The rest of Fnatic, though, again, kind of unsure where they want to push. You've got aces moving towards Spiral, and Rizraz is still playing over in Piano. And there's just a lot of pause right now on the attacking side.
It looked like for just a second maybe the foot was shown up, but Aces on those spiral stairs will manage to light up Psycho and confirm the kill. Two will push Wog, but there you go. He'll shatter the shield of Blackbeard, and Wog looking for a second as Magnet playing on Visa stairs as Adokabi lies prone. A drop as, Julio gets lusty, and amidst the smoke, Kamikaze, this is a lockout for Nip as they get 3 unanswered kills to clean up round number 1. Fnatic once again victim of odd circumstances and tries to get too aggressive with still some time left on the clock. They did not need to make those pushes the way they did.
I mean, there were also a lot of really basic mistakes. Why are we nading mute jammers on the garage wall when we're not even gonna push the garage wall, and we could just drop into Piano, and the Buck did drop into Piano 10 seconds later and shoot the jammers. You don't have to nade it. Save that for something else. I mean, on top of that, following that, we've got full vertical control. What are we using it for? They did manage to get 1 kill. Well done to Neo. But following that, nothing really happened because the rest of the Ninjas of Pyjamas anchors just maneuvered to places where the vertical pressure was non-existent and then pushed their way upstairs to apply horizontal pressure to the attackers who were trying to establish a hold. And then the biggest thing that it comes back to for me is that it just seems like, you know, I'm watching this, I'm seeing Fnatic be very uncertain of what they want to do. Yeah, there's no clear idea.
It could be one of those games of pressure too, and as the pressure starts to clamp down, you begin to second guess exactly what it is. You don't have the wherewithal to make those calls on the flies. You know, I'm not exactly certain how strong of an IGL system Fnatic has, but one thing that really sets apart the good teams from the great teams is when you know something isn't working, you have the leader who can call the right shots and make those adjustments on the fly in order to get the most out of your team and overcome the difficulties that your opponents are throwing at you.
You know, on that exact note, I've been talking to a lot of the teams here at this LAN event, and IGL as a role has been developing for a long time. Things have shifted heavily here and there. But the main, like, underlying thing of an IGL is they're not calling everything. The one thing that they do for your team is exactly what Fnatic seems to need, and that's they give you the clear objective. They're like, we are doing this round based on what we've just droned out. We're going to attack B windows and we're going to clamp down on B. We're going to open up the garage and we're going to push in through that way. We're going to come through locker hallway. You know, they just give you a clear consensus that you can all get behind. And that's the whole job of an IGL. That's it.
A lot of teams are also now pushing for a secondary IGL role. Somebody who, if your IGL is playing poorly or gets tilted or gets angry, etc., you have a second person there. As sort of a second adult in the room to pull everybody back from the brink.
You definitely need that. You know, just having everybody be focused on the same thing. It's very important here on stage. Now, Fnatic now will have the Blackbeard in a good position because they're attacking the top floor.
Probably one of the best positions along with that window, the connector window as well, where Julio is currently playing.
Yeah, so he's going to be able to do a lot of damage with that SR25, hopefully, if the attack works out for Fnatic. Magnet's going to get Log using that SMG-12, but he has taken a lot of damage in return. There are a couple roamers downstairs, but one of them will be taken out by Magnet. 2 for him in the round. And the pulse gone. No C4 from below. Kamikaze, though, on the yellow stairs will get 1 before immediately being refragged by Lusty. So good job there for Fnatic, letting their lead slip away, leaving just PZD and Julio, the final 2 defenders.
Now, if they rotate the Blackbeard of Aces over towards the balcony or even to that connector window, this will make Julio's life a living hell for the moment and leave PZD as really the only man capable of salvaging the round. They need to put more pressure at the moment. Fnatic needs to put more pressure on both A and B. They still have plenty of time, so that's 4-2. They have 50 seconds left, just under a minute. PZD could possibly get an early pick to start off this mid to late round transition that Fnatic are currently in the midst of, but no, Magnet with the SMG-12 at such close range will pick up his 3rd kill. That's a trio for one of the most proficient players on Fnatic. C4 from Julio will go out just as a precautionary shot onto yellow stairs. There's a Blackbeard position there, and as good as the Vector is, it's got quite significant damage drop off, and, well, you're not going to land your headshots onto a Blackbeard. Well, down Rizraz, who tries to go for the withstand, as Julio right now will have a mirror window, but oh, Julio, a big kill on the Lusty. He's amidst smoke. It all hinges on what we can see from Aces. He works his way in, goes for a pre-fire. Julio still completely blind for too long. Does not have the ability to see his opponent, and Aces, with such a strong gun, just walks around the doorway and gets the kill, and Fnatic will answer back after losing round 1. They'll take round 2.
Big thing about those stuns is that if you are within about 4 meters of them when they detonate, then it is a full flash, full blind, full no hearing. Everything is bad, you know, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you turn away and it's within that proximity, then you're flashed. And as they detonate with, 1 second after hitting any wall or surface, that's going to be a hard thing to avoid. So well done to Aces using his flashbangs, his stun grenades there well. Now, Fnatic have managed to salvage a round, and that was looking pretty scary for a second there. Julio actually looked like he might be able to clutch it. And honestly, if it weren't for the flashes, I think he would have. That's the big thing. Ninja Pyjamas have been playing very well so far. Fnatic just now started to look like they're waking up. But on the first round, they were still asleep following the first map.
The amount of mirrors I've seen prone that can use that Vector with that high rate of fire to just chew through a Blackbeard's body without needing to take out the shield is way too high. That would have meant that the only one left was Magnet, who had sustained almost critical damage earlier on in his very first engagement.
So Ninja Pyjamas going back to the top floor. You can see they're going to be using a yellow stairs strategy, heavy investment in yellow stairs. Last time they played Kamikaze here on the Legion. So the reason you open up that closet is so you can deny repels in through the B window from yellow stairs, but it also stacks up the importance of yellow stairs for defense to hold. And it's a pretty easy position to hold if you play it right, but it also is kind of exposed. And if the attackers, again, if they play it right, then they can take it away from you. We'll see, though, what Fnatic managed to get done. They did manage to get yellow stairs last time. See if they can do it twice in a row.
They'll begin their assault, heading towards yellow stairs. I'm curious as to why Nip wouldn't roll the dice at this point on possibly a lobby strat. Lobby is, I mean, lobby is just as defendable as the other two sites, but one thing that we've seen out of Ninjas in Pyjamas is that they are, whether they win or lose a site, they are immediately switching to another one. And that's a good opportunity to have, but Kamikaze will get the lead-off kill onto Magna as he goes for a run-out, but there's nobody in position.
Is exposed.
So you can...
Fnatic, oh! Kamikaze, are you serious? He almost gets the down onto Rizraz, but finally will get spotted from above as Kamikaze unable to get back into the building. Lusty will get tagged in, and almost every member of Fnatic on the roof, somebody is charged with getting off the building and getting that kill.
So yeah, the big thing is actually you can vault up on that roof. A lot of people think if you want to kill a person who runs out like that, you have to rappel onto him if you're on the roof. But you can actually vault onto the railing of the roof on those little lips. And you saw Fnatic utilizing that well in that round. They also took a lot of damage from it. So it was kind of an even trade there. Kamikaze managing to get the Dokkaebi. I'd say that was a really big kill, but he also did damage onto Rizraz, as you can see. There's very little HP left. Yellow Stairs control still in hand here for Ninjas in Pyjamas, but they're going to lose it as Lusty takes down PZD. Nice angle there through the Yellow Stairs window, and that's the second time Lusty's gotten a kill from this position. It's
a good spot to be in, especially if you can deny anybody who's playing at the top of yellow. But look at that, Psycho goes for a peek out, but Neophyter will decide to greet him with a well-timed headshot, and the Pulse crouched away around the door will be put down. Blackbeard of Aces on repel by console. Window will look all the way in towards bathroom, which is where the Mira of Julio is being positioned. The floor being blown out from beneath him, but Aces will get a nice timed shot as Julio trying to avoid getting blown up underneath. He'll instead just get blown up on the same level, meaning that Wog is last man alive. And he is in the bathroom now, will work his way to the console front desk. But Aces on repel still will shut things down. And that's 2 in a row for Fnatic.
Incredibly efficient round. That actually ended with 40 seconds left on the clock. That is very odd for an attacking victory. So well done there to Fnatic. They seem to have grown some teeth in these last 2 rounds, and I'm really excited for that. But here's the thing, and this is what worries me. On the previous map, Bank, they were looking very strong. Whether they were winning or not is beside the point, but they were looking strong, they were playing well on the first half of Bank. And then when it started to feel like it was slipping away for them, they've kind of fell asleep. And I'm afraid that Fnatic is going to put themselves up in this first half and then suddenly start to see the same problem persist in the second half. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I want to see that map number 3, but they look good now, and let's hope that it continues to look that way moving forward.
Yeah, it's hard to predict given the way that we saw Bank start off, because it was a much better start. It was a much better start to the day for Fnatic than we saw, yesterday. Though they did start a little strong on Clubhouse and then tailed off.
It's exactly the same
Basically
thing.
Same thing
Every
happened.
single match they've played, really, it feels like.
Once they seem to start to fall behind, they cannot get back in there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with the team. I don't know what needs to happen for them to, in order for them to consistently, find their groove again. Maybe it just will never happen. Some teams just get, well, FaZe seems to be the same way. FaZe is a team who, the Latin America brethrens of Ninjas in Pyjamas, when FaZe starts to lose, they really start to lose, and it can go downhill very quickly for them. We saw yesterday against Rogue as well. It really takes a toll.
I mean, there's also, remember the story of Ents. You have to look at Ents. They're a good example of the mental game really getting to them. Ents had played at every single LAN event leading up to that Season 6 finals that they managed to win. And at every single LAN event, they psyched themselves out, and they were the real culprit. Like, their own minds were the real culprit as to why they were not winning, because they were a high-skilled team with great strategies. Then they said at the Season 6 finals, they just said, oh, screw it. We don't care anymore. We're just going to play and have fun. And they managed to win that. So the mental game is a big deal. And in fact, it's not just a big deal for Fnatic here, but from what I've been hearing from our Brazilian brethren, Ninjas in Pyjamas is also a very big mental game team. If they allow themselves to slip away, they might start to suffer if we go to that map number 3.
And Border's a map that both these teams will play quite well on. It's definitely,
Yeah,
it's definitely a map that we know that Ninjas in Pyjamas excels at too. So that at least will bring quite a challenge for Fnatic. 1 minute has gone by and we just see the entry for Fnatic as they work their way around the top floor of console. The bomb site being downstairs in garage, the only site that we have seen a victory for from Ninjas in Pyjamas. Mind you, we have yet to see the lobby emerge as a site. So Lusty will work his way in towards that main floor. He's in lobby. They don't really need to worry about any roamers, as you can see. This means that the hatches for Fnatic will be almost completely free, but no! Oh, they don't see the evil eye. Great placement from Wog in the front desk, and that means that with a Thermite banned, Lusty's going to have to be a lot more particular, and you can tell there's a lot of deliberation as to what he's going to do next. Where do you use your X-Karos? You cannot pick them back up like an exothermic charge. He'll decide to use one of his 2 remaining pairs on that front lobby hatch, and he gets out of the building and will go on to drone. That's a great usage of utility for Wog, and Psycho will get a kill on a Magnet as the Dokkaebi tries to work her way down to the basement, where we'll get stopped in the process by the Visa stairs. Rizraz now over top of Magnet's corpse. Could possibly go for a push, but we'll see a mute jammer and will not be able to get as much information as he needs.
Yet again from Fnatic, we see a lot of indecisiveness. C4 from below, PZD going to take out Neo, and that's the piano player gone. But we've got Rizraz all the way over in Visa, and Ace is outside of yellow stairs. Rotations being made here. Rizraz going to move over to the main lobby, but still so spread out for having a man disadvantage right now. Fnatic needs to stack up and start a push somewhere. Yellow stairs is not the most ideal position to do that. Lusty's outside the main garage. He has managed to get himself, I believe, an entry point. It's going to be a tricky thing to wiggle his way through that, but he certainly can. But it's still going to be a bit of a bottleneck. You can see that PZD is on the other side of that bottleneck waiting for him. And he's going to get a nice angle here to get potentially 2 more kills. Brings out the pistol and goes for it. He will indeed get the 3K to lock out the round. Ninjas in Pyjamas put themselves up.
Excellent finish for Ninjas in Pyjamas, and basically the same story that we saw in the very first round. Fnatic pushes, and all of them die in literally 10 seconds. So. Yeah. We'll head to the final round of our first half on this split here, and it does look like Nip is actually primed and ready to go to the lobby. After losing console office on that second floor twice, it stands to reason that you'd probably go to the one site that you haven't lost yet. I mean, because you haven't played it, sure, but you at least got to give it a chance, and that's exactly what they'll do. Lobby for round number 5.
I think that was definitely a 3K at the end there, but I think that was also PZD C4 in the middle of the round to get Neo. While he was playing in piano, so overall, I believe a 4. Well done there to the mute. And it looks like Julio's actually going to be playing mute this round. It's a little bit of a transition there. PZD going on to
Attackers
Ella.
need to locate and defuse as many
Now,
bombs as they can.
2-2.
Attackers have discovered the
Nice
location
and even
of a
there.
bomb.
Ninjas in Pyjamas, for the very first time, will go to the main lobby for the very last defense they have in this first half. Meanwhile, Fnatic have brought some good tools to attack this site, but only 1 set of smokes, which is kind of light for a main lobby take. Of course, the main priority is going to be taking that top floor, and then you could apply the vertical pressure and then execute.
I mean, you can still make the 2 smokes work if you're able to take out the 2 Maestro cams, which is going to be the biggest priority. Finding where the Maestro cams are, those evil eyes, and then ensuring that they're not going to be able to either zap you, but more importantly, see you, and then that information can then be given to the rest of the team for them to capitalize on and possibly toss a C4 if they need be. There's only going to be 1 C4 on the board. That's Julio, unless he's running a bulletproof camera. Probably going to be running the C4 because it would baffle me if they decided to run with an operator that didn't have it. And no, yes, there it is. So there will be some explosives for the defenders if need be. Something they can rely upon as the push actually happens outside of just blindly firing. And I mean, hey, that seems to be a pretty viable strategy. You've got Maestro's LMG with a pretty huge rate of fire, but early phone call for Magnet as he's going to freeze people in place, force the defenders to have to deal with that buzzing and vibrating noise in 30 seconds. Maybe not the best usage of your first call, but we'll see if they can make anything happen with it. Frag grenade will get tossed down, the smoke will scamper off. Actually, looking like it might have been Julio playing the mute on stairs.
There we go. Lots of pressure being applied via utility from Fnatic onto the yellow stairs, but there's nobody actually playing there. Ninjas in Pyjamas have fallen off of this position in order to give themselves some freedom and just ignore the Fnatic utility. So lots of wasted utility. And you can see that Aces will finally drone that out and determine it for his team. PZD playing inside of Projector. This is a very powerful position, of course, as I'm sure most of you know. Consulate, middle floor defense. You need to hold on to Projector as defender because it allows you to dictate the B bomb site, which has no horizontal soft destruction. So there is no way to horizontally hold this site because it is exposed to that front door. You are forced to do it vertically or indirectly via echo drones or maestro cams or gas canisters, etc. Now, Aces, you can see on Repel for CEO, he's looking for the angle for PZD inside of Projector, but of course PZD, very wise, not going to peek that. You can pretty much identify the Blackbeard from his DMR, and there's no reason to peek as soon as you hear that sound.
Some lessened effects of the concussion mine, of course, because Zofia is a bit more resistant to them. Lusty will manage to find the Maestro, so those Evil Eyes will be locked in the position they were in. One thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize is that when Maestro dies, the Evil Eyes cannot be rotated, so they will stay static, similar to the bulletproof cameras. Hopefully, for Ninjas in Pyjamas, the field of view will be important for wherever the push happens. Rizraz will invest some of his own gadget into trying to figure out where PZD is playing by the upturned table, and Projector will see the Ella, and this is a Scorpion that is a pretty good gun, but in this instance might be a bit too outclassed. Magnet will take out Julio, and Nip is falling quite hard, but Kamikaze trades off Neofighter. That's the buck. Rizraz does find Kamikaze. PZD has still managed to stay alive, but look at this. Psycho will pop heads, as that's one, but cannot secure the second. That SMG-12 is too strong. PZD from above will remain undeterred as he now drops in towards the main lobby. Plant going down in Piano. There will be constant marks. PZD could shut this down in its tracks. They'll play Ring Around the Rosie, but Magnet will find the target, and that once again will be Fnatic in the final round, taking the first split. Exactly the same as Bank. Only question is, they did it on attack this time. Their defense looked better last time. Is it going to be any different here on Consulate? Or will Nip once again run up the score and seal it out without us going to a third map?
Looks like we're going to have a tactical pause from Ninjas in Pyjamas, trying to assess this situation and get themselves in the right mindset. Now, one really big thing I want to note here is we talked about how Fnatic, they don't really have that voice in the room that's able to guide them. If there is anyone who comes close to that, it's Magnet. And as you just saw there, he was incredibly excited after winning that round, and that's exactly what Fnatic need. They need an energetic, invested, excited Magnet to lead them to victory. So if he can keep that ball rolling, if he never gets shut down, then Fnatic might be able to just take this match in a landslide. We'll see how that works out, though.
What could possibly be conferred amongst, or what could possibly be discussed as the teams will confer amongst one another. Right now, you've got Twister there just going over. I believe that's Twister is his in-game handle, the coach for Ninjas in Pyjamas, as they deliberate over what kind of strategy they want to. I think this is a much better time of taking a tactical timeout than in the final round. I've kind of questioned teams that have taken the tactical timeout when they're sitting on match point against them, because at best your tactical timeout is going to maybe only be good for one round. I think it's important and crucial to give your teams potentially a breather, and as you head into either a changing of the sides or you possibly find yourselves in a 3-2, 4-2, 4-3 style of deal, I think that's a much more appropriate time before you let the game slip away.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You can set up a lot of strategies in that span, and hopefully for Nip's sake, they have done just that, though they do have the cushion of already winning a map. So if they do lose here on Consulate, they'll be somewhat comfortable as they head to the third map.
Bomb located by attackers.
Basement is going to be the hold here for Fnatic. Of course, the Thermite being banned, that works both ways, and Fnatic are relying on it as well. Though I don't know if they're going to be as invested in holding the drop-downs like what we saw from Ninjas in Pyjamas, using those Evil Eyes to get one of these sets of Excaros.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
It's very unlikely they'll do anything similar, as I'm sure Nip will check for it. Fnatic have a lot of great tools to hold this site. They've brought a Bandit and a Mute, so the Bandit batteries can be the first layer defense, or at least the Mute Jammers can be the first layer defense, either way, really. And you can double up on the garage if you need to, plus the Mute just in general useful for denying information to your opponents. That is something that has been discussed actually a lot at this LAN event. Some teams here rely a lot on their drone economy, and if you can shut that down using mute or other methods, sometimes you can make your life exceedingly easy as a defender.
Mute's also running the bulletproof camera, which means there will be 3 bulletproof cameras available, which is a lot of information. Do keep in mind that Valkyrie is banned, so you will have, as well as Echo, so the only real information you're going to be able to get outside of your default cams will be bulletproof cameras run by operators and Maestro. Also, there will be no active bandit tricking from Neophyter. Also, with Mute running that bulletproof camera, it means that the C4 that could possibly shut this plan down or at least hold off a choke area will only be Lusty and Neo. So that will be it. If Neo is even running a C4, which means that it could be more an investment in information and just pure fragging potential. The hatch and bathroom will be taken by Nip. That will be blown open, and as well, Julio inside of Piano will use a skeleton key and set up shop in there as he now moves into the main hallway. But Neophyter, with that Bandit C4, will answer the question. Does he have one? Yes, he does, and he uses it to take out the Buck. That is a big looming threat from above. That will no longer be there. Lusty also will punish Psycho, and that's 2 kills for Fnatic as we get to see exactly what Nip is trying to do as they maneuver their way towards the site, now down 2 members of their team.
That is the hype train you could see starting for Fnatic. Again, they are a very emotional team, one that relies on getting this momentum in their favor, and they seem to have it right now. That lead, they're surely going to clamp down on. As long as they don't get too ahead of themselves, Fnatic have won this round. They give away any potential free kills, like what could be right here if Kamikaze, oh no, just checks the angle a little bit longer. But he chooses not to. PZD going to use his Ying in the back of White as he rushes in through Garage. This is a good position. He's going to get the initial entry frag. In fact, Wag gets it from behind. Magnet, though, will get Wag and aces onto PZD, leaving just Kamikaze. But from behind, he's going to get one. Can he get a second? No. Magnet shuts him down, and Fnatic take the round.
A big burst of momentum for Fnatic as they're going to start off strong on defense, but let's keep in mind and temper our expectations as that Bank did the exact same thing. We were actually following almost the exact same pattern as we saw on Bank, now being extrapolated over here to Consulate. But overall, a good hold on Garage, which has typically been the site where the defense is winning. We have not seen a victory on Lobby for the defenders, and we have not seen a victory on the console office for defenders either. So the one site where the defense is currently 100% will continue at that rate. This means that Fnatic is going to have to do what Ninjas in Pyjamas were incapable of doing on their defense, which is win on one of the other 2. And they'll hang their hat on console office as they head upstairs. Lobby only came out in the very final round for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Interestingly enough, the tools that Nip are bringing will work quite well on this site. Of course, with Ying and Dokkaebi being available, and then you've got the Buck there for the destructive capabilities, good fragging potential, but it's Wog who will sub out to a Glaz, interestingly enough, not Psycho.
I also don't have the Blackbeard, which is kind of an oddity. I mean, Blackbeard on any floor that's not based yet, because we talked about earlier, is really powerful. But the substitute ops here are also really powerful. I mean, look at this combo. Dokkaebi, Glaz, Zofia, and Ying. Of course, Buck being brought for the stop destruction, but just the rest of that makes me, makes me uncomfortable, man. It's not fun to look at. And I'm sure it won't be fun for Fnatic to play against. They also have a lack of hard destructors, though, on any site that's not the basement. That's not incredibly relevant. You could go for a yellow stairs take here and open up that reinforced wall by the closet into B, but I don't know, that's a bit of a bottleneck and kind of a risk. I'm sure Nip doesn't want to take it.
I'm going to be interested to see exactly what Aces is capable of doing with these Maestro cams here, because as was mentioned, they're going to be probably the primary source of information on site, as well as potentially off site depending on where they go. For Fnatic, as you don't have the Valkyrie, you don't have the Echo drones or the Yokai drones, and then most default cams will be shot out pretty reliably. So also, one thing too is that the Dokkaebi, if an early pick does happen, Ninjas in Pyjamas can grab that information for themselves, as the Evil Eyes are capable of being hacked by Dokkaebi's gadget. That will take that advantage from Fnatic away from them.
So, looks like it's going to be a B take. Ninjas in Pyjamas situated around the yellow stairs. holding those flanks. Lots of claymores going down here, and the repels are coming out. You can expect this to be a bit of a rush strategy. As soon as they situate themselves properly, they're likely to throw candelas and smokes in to disrupt the defenders and follow that up with a phone call just to make their push happen. And then they'll go for a attempted diffused plant. Now, luckily for them, there is no C4 in play here underneath. We do have Lusty potentially with a C4, but of course he is playing in the A bomb site right now. He does indeed. At any moment, he could technically open up the drop down in A and come underneath B to C4 if it's necessary, but that's going to have to be an on-the-fly call that he will have to make himself with based on information his team feeds him. Now, slow play here for NiP. They are on repel. They're just looking for fights. They're watching for the runouts. You can tell Fnatic not looking to be too aggressive, but speak of the devil and it shall appear, and Magnet too aggressive. Kamikaze shuts them down, and now Kamikaze has control over Yellow Stairs. Really big. He's lost a lot of HP, but he has the hold. And as these smokes come out, so is the rest of the utility from the attackers.
Wog is in sight right now in console office behind the reinforced barricade. He will go for the plant, and the Candelas will keep everybody from being able to see what exactly is going on. But a C4, you see it get tossed. Lusty, Rizraz, and Aces. Fnatic with 3 big kills as Diffuser goes down, but Psycho will now see Rizraz, and this is possible that he can get a second. He will. He'll clutch Lusty, and it's a 2v2. Wog holding a tight angle, and you can see Aces shred through Psycho. Last man up is Wog, but Neo very low on HP, and Aces will have to make sure that they can get a rotate. Glaz will be pressured from 2 separate angles. He'll take out the only member, and a double kill with the pistol from Wog. Oh my goodness, that will be the round for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Look at that. You couldn't do that with the PMM because he would have run out of bullets, instead opting for the default. I actually don't think there was a single attachment on that Glaz from Wog, which shows that it could have been a last-minute change. Still makes it work. A round that definitely looked like it was winnable for Fnatic to put them on match point could have just been a massive boon for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
So that right there is the big hurdle that Fnatic needs to leap over, and they have been thus far incapable of leaping over that hurdle at this LAN event. As soon as the second wind comes in for their opponent, it just seems like Fnatic falls asleep at the wheel. And we're about to find out if that will hold true for yet another time as Fnatic go into the defense of the top floor once again, following that very near retake onto the CEO office. Man, that has got to be really disheartening, but they need to get past it in order to bring us to map number 3. Ninjas in Pyjamas, on the other hand, just 1 round away from equalizing. The collapse there for NiP was actually a little bit disjointed. The way that they were laying down their smokes and candelas was tapered. It wasn't all at once. There was no burst, although that's not necessary considering Fnatic had no grasp on B. They didn't have C4 below. They didn't have any utility in the site to deny a diffuse plant. Mostly it was just a retake strategy, and it almost worked. If the C4 had denied the diffuse plant, you could see Lusty's C4 was pre-aimed. He knew exactly where to land that C4 in order to get it right on top of CEO desk. Beautifully thrown. But Ninjas in Pyjamas weren't planting by CEO desk, and that's what allowed them to recover the round.
Lusty was really the big starting, I guess, or opening salvo is a term that I've used a couple times. I think
it's applicable.
And absolutely, yeah. And Fnatic transitioned very, very well and caught Ninjas in Pyjamas as they tried to get off of the plant. It was a very one-dimensional attack for NiP through that, through the B windows, as you mentioned.
But it was well executed.
It was well executed for what it was, but there wasn't multiple prongs to it. You know, they had coverage on Yellow Stairs, and that was really it outside of that. That one reinforcement that Fnatic has now utilized again in Connector was really their undoing, and then Wog playing such a tight angle. You saw a push from Fnatic at different times. But that was all accomplished without any real presence from NiP in admin. That was really very little vertical play as well from NiP. Ultimately, they took a situation that really could have been thwarted by their own lack of, I suppose, coverage outside of the one push, and they made it work. As you mentioned, though, mental hurdle. Fnatic need to realize that that was a bad round and then just come off of it.
Yep.
Just let go of it and move on, because this is going to be the exact same situation they found themselves in on Bank. This happened, and they let the whole game slip away from them. You had some breathing room, a bit of a buffer on Bank because you still had another map that was guaranteed. You don't have that now. Julio will toss in a frag grenade and will get eaten by an ADS that's in playing over top of Yellow Stairs, and an early Toxic Babe from Magnet. 90 seconds eclipse on this round as NiP are really focusing on this yellow Stairs push right now. You've got PZD as well as the Dokkaebi Kamikaze situated, waiting to push up at any opportunity. Magnet has his shotgun just aimed at center mass right on the stairs. What could be the possible final ADS charge will capture a projectile. There you go, the frag grenade will get tossed down from the Buck, but no, nothing there. Here are the Candelas as there's no utility, but Magnet gets one. Can he go for a second? 2 shotgun kills from Magnet as PZD and Kamikaze will not live whatsoever. But from above, they missed him. He's prone, and Julio just doesn't see the smoke. That was a free kill, and Julio will miss. This is once again a great spot for Fnatic to be in.
Looks like he's on his phone, possibly there. Still with the phone call, thanks to all the action, and Psycho will get the kill onto Magnet. And a second through the wall into Lusty. He will also get the default camera, so information starting to slip away here for Fnatic. And Ninjas of Pyjamas, they were in a 3 versus 5 just now, and they've managed to equalize. Here come the smokes into the site, and they push right after. The defuse plant is going to be on Julio. It doesn't look like Fnatic have a lot in hand to deny this plant. There should be an Evil Eye in here following those concussions, and he is going to hit the defuse plant, or will he get it? Or will the defuse plant go down? The defuse plant does go down, but the down Buck as well. Psycho gets Rizraz over by the Yellow Stairs. Aces finally finishes off Julio. And now it's a 2 versus 2. Aces another kill onto Psycho, leaving just Wag in the 1 versus 2. He's done it before. Can he do it again? Neo Typher, bad push there onto the Yellow Stairs, and Wag will finish him off. Aces in the 1 versus 1. You can see Glaz of Wag trying to play it from below. He knows the exact position he needs to hold, and all he needs to do is stick for just a little bit longer, but he goes to Yellow Stairs, faking out Aces, and Aces will read into it too much. There's not enough time anymore. He has to stick it, and Wag will clutch 2 in a row as the Glaz. What a play.
The best indicator of future events is past events. And this is exactly what happened to Fnatic on Bank. How do you let this happen? As Fnatic, you rush the Yellow Stairs. Are they getting bad calls? Are they letting the nerves get to them? Where is the information for Fnatic? You have Neophyter just rush onto the stairs with probably one of the best defensive guns in the game at close range in that 416 carbine that Jaeger has. And you get destroyed by a pistol without even getting a single shot off.
Neophyter, by the way. I said Neotypher again.
I wouldn't have made fun of you because I don't make fun of you when you mispronounce people's names.
You've done it before.
Never.
Now, so remember how I said you can't get demoralized by one of those clutches? Well, you can't get demoralized by 2 of them now.
Yeah.
Now it's 2 of them in a row. That's can't let it get to you, Fnatic. Can't let it get to you. That's got to bring you down. That's got to put you in the dumps, and I don't know if they're going to be able to recover from that one, to be honest. It's a lot to ask of them. We'll see if they manage to pull it out here. They'll be going onto the basement defense. Now, some important thing to note here, everywhere but basement has been hard to defend on this map so far.
Right.
So it's not that surprising that Fnatic have lost those 2 top floor holds. However, again, both times they should have won it. Both times.
Yeah, those were both 2 rounds that NiP didn't really have any right winning, but they did. And I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how much of your victory over your opponent is deserved.
Right.
The victory is what's most important.
Yeah. And
Fnatic going to the garage is sensible because, as you noted quite well, console office upstairs has been defended 4 times, 0 victories for the defense. Lobby defended once, 0 victories for the defense. Garage 3 times. This will make number 4, and it has 100% success rate for the defense. If that trend line breaks for Fnatic, considering that they have just tossed 2 rounds that they should have won away, Ninja Pyjamas not just going to match point, but also to series point. I'm not going to say the game is over because I'm not that sort of person, but I would be very surprised if Fnatic was able to dig deep enough to come back. So this is absolutely, even though, as I said this yesterday, even though statistically it's not a must-win, it very much, or literally a must-win, it is absolutely a must-win.
Yeah, I don't see Fnatic being able to crawl back after that as well. That they looked like they were going to, following the first clutch from WOG, but the second clutch from WOG in a very similar position.
It was much more winnable,
yeah,
too.
A lot more
He was
winnable.
very exposed on yellow stairs, working his way up, pistol out, close quarters combat. Glaz's forte is not close range engagements.
He played it perfectly though, to his defense, and he did get that clutch, so well done to him. But still, it was a throw from Fnatic, that's for sure. We can't forget about that. Now, basement defense, yet again, thermite banned, which means vertical pressure is paramount here for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They're going to be starting things off with a Julio Buck. Now, last time here, Neo managed to get the C4 from below. See if that happens twice in a row. Seems like we've been seeing a lot of repeats so far in this map.
Neophyter looked like he was going to try to go for a bandit trick, but that's a bait as PZD just chews through Lusty, and they will look to get some of those garage panels open. Neophyter tosses up his C4, and exactly the same as we saw in the very first defensive round for Fnatic. It will be the Buck getting blown up by the C4 from below. The only difference is that that was the very first frag, and Neophyter, who had just gotten a kill, will expose himself for a second, but Magnet tags himself in to avenge his teammate. PZD still is on a rampage right now, posted up on yellow stairs. WOG goes in for the plant by the front of White Van, and now you can see a big push, but Aces will take out PZD. WOG sticking the landing. Kamikaze will take out Magnet, and last man is Aces. Plant is down. He does have a pretty good weapon at his disposal, but this is going to be a tough job as Ninjas in Pyjamas will wisely retreat. One of the biggest issues with a post-plant scenario on Consulate is the fact that you have to fight against opponents who are very usually playing long angles that you can't contend with, and Kamikaze will manage to out-aim Aces, and that will be Nip taking their third in a row, and boy, it sure feels like we know what's coming here. Not to write off the Aussies, but this is going to be a mighty, mighty hard round.
Match point, and by extension, series point for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They need win in the next 3 minutes, and they will take it and move into the playoffs. Fnatic will go home unhappy. Now, that's the prediction. That's the future, potentially. But Fnatic also has a chance to bring this back. If they win this next round, we get overtime. And if they go on to attack of overtime, they could potentially bring us to map number 3. The big thing is whoever gets attack on overtime is going to have the edge, because the basement has been, yes, the site to defend. People have really been enjoying that. And we just saw the very first basement attack success, I believe. Now, if you defend the basement, you win there, you're going to be in a good spot, but then you have to defend somewhere else. And nobody really has had much luck on the top floor, middle floor. So if we get to OT, it's going to be, I think, down to the coin toss between attack and defense.
A couple notes on the implications of this match. Number one, the victor of this match faces Evil Geniuses in the quarterfinals.
Yep.
Number two, the only 2 remaining Latin America teams that are in this are Ninjas in Pyjamas and FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan is going up against Team Secret, who are, at the moment, one of the hottest teams in the world.
Yep.
And FaZe did not have the best outing yesterday, even though they absolutely demolished Orglis on the very first day. Yesterday, they didn't quite have the same level of success that they probably expected after their first matchup. There was a very real possibility when Fnatic was coming into this matchup that Latin America could be possibly shut out of making it to the quarterfinals. This would, at least with Ninjas in Pyjamas, if they win this round, this would at least secure the fact that Latin America would have representation. Also, if Fnatic loses, that's a rough day for a region. You saw Nora Rengo fall short of, I think, a lot of people's expectations in that first matchup. Didn't even make it to a third map against Obey. And Element Mystic is going to have their hands full next game against the French powerhouse of Millennium. It's a very interesting dynamic with the way that these group stages work. There's a lot of really good teams that haven't and won't make it onto the quarterfinals. Mocket has been eliminated. Immortals. These are just 2 teams that come to mind. Even Team Liquid, one of the most decorated Latin America squads, and the only Latin America team that has actually won anything of significance on the international stage. Of course, winning Season 7, they got knocked out in groups. Didn't even win a single game. and something to consider. But with that said, we don't need to write any obituaries just yet. There is a possibility of overtime as Fnatic are once again going to go back down to the garage. The only time that garage was lost was the last round. We'll see if they can make sure that they push it into extra innings here.
Well, they're going to have a minute 40 to make that happen. And Ninjas and Pyjamas have used the first half of the round to clear out the roamers quite efficiently. C4 pre-plays from Neo. Bad detonation though, and it will be over by Piano, not doing any damage. Meanwhile, Psycho going to be drawing out a lot of those horizontal roamers over in the server room. It's a good position to have. It forces Ninjas and Pyjamas, when they're coming down these stairs, to enter into a crossfire. However, it also leaves you very exposed as a roamer. Julio doing Julio things, and since Neo's C4 has been used for the third round in a row, it will not get Julio. Another C4 also misses, so the Buck going to be able to rain down fire upon his opponents from this position.
Nobody has died yet, but you've got all the XKROs opened up portions of that garage panel, which means that Fnatic has to be very wary of where they play. And because the entire ceiling above them has now been destroyed by the Buck, it basically means that you have to expose yourself in order to stop that B plant as well. 2 C4s mean that you might only have one left, depending on if you have one from Magnet. Phone calls from Dokkaebi, Psycho sprints in, Rizraz is down, but PZD look guaranteed to get a kill there, but 2 big kills from the Bandit of Neo Fighter. Magnet is downed, will give us a glorified 3v3. Wog tries to work his way in, but the coverage will be there on White Van this time around. Kamikaze, meanwhile, will finish off what had been started by his teammate, a PZD. Kamikaze working his way in, and Fnatic look like we're going to push to overtime. We haven't been able to see it yet, but the Aussies will hold on. They'll buck the trend. No victory for Nip yet, and we will go to OT.
Thanks to Neo in the perfect position, able to stop that 2-prong attack single-handedly. He blunted the assault, and the rest of Fnatic rallied behind him. Well done to Fnatic, bringing us to OT, and they will lose the coin toss, going to defense first, which means they will likely get a hold downstairs. They might be able to pull that off on Garage, and I'm sure they will, based on that previous performance. But then going on to the next sites, that's where they're going to struggle.
Yeah, the coin toss is, I mean, it's complete chance.
It is.
But Fnatic, let's say they win Garage, gives Nip the opportunity to go to Garage next, which will likely be the place to go.
And it's 6-6.
And then you have to basically do what no team has been able to do so far, which is put together a successful defense on either the console office on the second floor or the lobby side on the main floor.
So you either have to, for your first time ever, successfully attack the bottom floor, or for your first time ever and everyone else's first time ever, successfully hold anything that's not basement.
So to start things off, a disadvantage being given to Fnatic here, just based on the results that we've seen on the site rotation, and Ninjas in Pyjamas being gifted an opportunity to position themselves well to square off against Evil Geniuses on Friday.
Yeah, and I'm sure Nip is, if they lose this basement attack, which is very, you know, basically if Fnatic can't win the basement hold here, it's gonna be a struggle for them. But if Nip lose this basement attack, they're gonna probably shrug that off, move into their own basement defense, win that, and then we'll have the final round Fnatic defend top floor or middle floor, and Ninjas in Pyjamas will invest a lot into that, I'm sure. But there is still potential for mix-ups. You know, anything can happen between now and then, and we could see, for example, Nip take the, you know, for a second there, I thought he was going to be bringing out a mute jammer.
And just putting it on the wall.
Put it on the wall.
Oh, that's unintended.
You know, I was like, that's not supposed to happen. But no, the bulletproof camera well positioned there. It's a great spot to have one. Give you information on yellow stairs and the main garage.
You got Psycho playing Ash. Might actually be for the first time today. Not that my memory is always the greatest, but it doesn't come to mind that we saw Psycho playing this Ash role previously.
Psycho's actually a big Ash player. He doesn't play it,
but not today.
Yeah, not today. He doesn't play it always, but you usually see Psycho bring out Ash when it really matters. Like when everything else is failing for Ninjas in Pyjamas, they'll stick Psycho on Ash, and they'll just say frag out, just get kills. And there's a short list of people who are good enough to make Ash work in this meta, and Psycho's on that short list. So we'll see if he can pull it out here. It's going to be really important that he does in this round. Wag will start opening up these drop downs. Pretty typical fare here.
Mario, of course, also, or Mario from Norengo, also a very proficient Ashe, so much so that we saw her get banned out in the previous matchup.
Yeah,
so
and
still an operator, and it did work. Still an operator that definitely has its usage. Lusty, for the second time in a row, will get taken out from Julio from above. But Julio not playing the buck, he'll be on the Zofia. It also looked like he might have gotten an Evil Eye, but that was a bit of quick action. Magnet being spotted by Psycho playing on the main level of Visa stairs, and Magnet will need a reset. There is time to possibly get it. Obviously, he'll have to go for a bullet pen here because there's no Rook armor available, but Magnet on very little HP. Julio just working with those lifelines from above to try and open up as much of the floor as possible. Running a Claymore, though, we've seen a lot of Zofias run the Breach charge in addition to the fact that they have the 2 explosive rounds, but you don't really need them because you got a Sledge, as I was just shown there, as to be PZD, who will just smash away at the floor in the piano room.
So, Ninjas in Pyjamas, lots of vertical pressure. You can see there was a reset onto Magnet earlier by Fnatic. They had to get as much HP back as possible. All of these Fnatic players are within about 20 meters of each other. Very clumped up. Little bit of a square going on between the A site and security. And it looks like PZD is going to clamp down on the corners of that square. Magnet goes down. PZD also gets Rizraz. Fnatic now in a 2 versus 5, and this is a really important round for them to win. They got to pull it out somehow. As the plant goes down at the front of White Van, it will be successful. Some missed zaps there, but Aces manages to get a free kill into Psycho as Julio takes out Neo. Kamikaze will finish off Aces, and Ninjas in Pyjamas will win the first round of overtime, all but securing their victory.
What NiP did there was so remarkably different from every other attacking strategy that they have brought to this site. Fnatic set up very similarly. You saw that the Evil Eyes, the bulletproof camera, even their rotations and positions were not that out of the ordinary in comparison to previous holds that they had on Garage. But NiP brought a whole new arsenal with them. They subbed out the Buck for the Zofia. They brought an Ashe instead. And they had the Sledge smashing away to open up as many holes into the site as possible, knowing that the Buck of Julio was dying usually quite early on. Of course, the Buck is a great pick. Sledge is just as easy of a substitute to do the job that Buck was doing. And of course, Sledge does see usually a pretty healthy amount of play in Latin America, so Ninjas in Pyjamas know how to deal with them. But they basically changed their entire attacking strat this time around. And it paid huge dividends. Half of those kills, if not almost all of those kills, except for the final 2. So 3 of the 5 came from above through the floor.
You can see the scoreboard for NiP is a little bit reversed right now. It's a bit of an oddity, but that just shows the extreme amount of teamwork going on that squad. So what just happened that last round? Because of the success of Ninjas in Pyjamas on their attack to the basement, they went above and beyond to win that round. And now Fnatic are going to have to do the very same if they want to have another chance. The big thing here is that now, while Fnatic's job is hard in this round, should they win it, should they also go above and beyond, they get to go back down to the basement. And that, you know, I could tell you from experience, I could say that when you're going there for a second time, when you get the second opportunity, you don't mess it up. If Fnatic managed to win this attack, they can go back to that basement, and we may very well see map 3. However, again, the hurdles we were talking about earlier, this is a big one here for Fnatic, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make it. We'll see.
The opening kill is going to be the most important part, right?
Yeah,
we've seen the way that NiP has been able to roam on not just Consulate, but also Bank. Of course, Bank is a much more roam-friendly map, so they're able to do more damage there, but NiP's free-flowing and all-encompassing roam game that they have has been a bit of a problem for Fnatic to deal with. If Fnatic loses somebody early, I suspect that this team is going to absolutely deflate. And that can be a big problem for them, because that'll allow NiP to just continue to trample over the rest of Fnatic as they try to make adaptations after losing 1 or 2 key operators. But that's all really just us theory crafting here as 1 minute goes in through this round, and what could be match and series point. At stake is a possible position for either Latin America or APAC into the quarterfinals. The region does not have a representative for the playoffs on Friday yet. Somebody's going to win it, so it will happen in the next, possible minute and 40 seconds, or even farther beyond.
And right now, we've got a lot of North American, European teams doing pretty well so far, and both APAC and LATAM want to get as many teams up there as they can. So this is a pretty substantial match for both regions.
Stay back.
Lusty will start opening up those drop downs. Nip clumped together, as you can see in the site. They've cut two by security, one in security hallway, and then the other two in the actual garage. Why are you not checking for that? It's already happened. The Evil Eye looks like, get some charges. Not sure if it's going to matter in the long run, but yes, indeed, it has denied the opening of... That's already happened, Fnatic.
It happened inside of the circle desk in main lobby.
Yeah, but it happened regardless. The strategy is clearly being utilized by Ninjas in Pyjamas. You need to check for the Evil Eye before you try to open the drop down. A huge oversight there for Fnatic, and they won't have another prong to their attack.
No, and the clock really is not in their favor either. They're going to have to use that ability with this vertical play of Buck in order to try to make up for lost time, because you look at the clock, there's only 30 seconds left. Nip has two bodies stacked up on spiral stairs, and they will push their way up as Neophyter does find Julio, but Psycho and PZD are both in great position. Rizraz right now on flank watch. That proximity concussive blast will give the position away, and he will win the fight onto Psycho. Two key members of Ninjas in Pyjamas will fall, but the clock will be the biggest detriment. Kamikaze taking out Magnet, Rizraz there on spiral stairs. Fnatic must get the plant off. Wag will take out Rizraz, and all Nip needs to do is stop it in its tracks, but Neophyter with two big kills, and the trend will continue to break. We will have a final overtime of overtime, giving Fnatic an opportunity to go back down to the garage, and an inherent advantage that was handed on a silver platter to Ninjas in Pyjamas will no longer be in effect, as both of these teams will essentially be competing in one single best-of-1 round.
And Fnatic the ones who have the edge. You know what's weird to say after the attack has just won 2 onto the basement, that still defending basement is the advantage.
Right.
But it is. Both Fnatic and Ninjas in Pyjamas went above and beyond in their respective rounds to get those attack wins downstairs. And now Fnatic just need to lock it out. And I'm telling you, man, going into this, Fnatic has got to be revved up and ready to go. But all the emotion in the world cannot get you a win. They need to play this smart. Ninjas in Pyjamas had a great attack strategy last time they came down here, or came to this site. They managed to apply a ton of vertical pressure while still spreading themselves out a little bit more than they had in the past, and applying more emphasis to the main garage.
The strategy that worked on the very first defense for Ninjas in Pyjamas is going to come out again. They're going to run the same 5 operator lineup in order to deal with what they came across from Fnatic. A change for Fnatic is the Vigil's going to come out for Rizraz. Now, Rizraz has had a little bit of a struggle today on his roam game. He's usually a very reliable frag getter for the Australian team, but he hasn't been having the success that he's accustomed to. How would I particularly, if I'm just looking at the way that Fnatic has their operator lineup built right now, is that when you know that Zofia and Sledge are up in piano,
5 seconds remaining.
you have somebody return fire from below and distract them, while Rizraz on flank sneaks in through the main lobby of that circle desk and tries to get a pick or two in the hallway just outside of piano. That right there would blow this wide open and almost guarantee us the 3rd map. But it really depends on what they're going to do with that Vigil, because he has a lot of usages here. You can also use him to possibly kill time upstairs, and as mentioned every single time, this gadget does have height to it. So if he's near a low-hanging ceiling, such as server, if they go to drawn out Visa, they're not going to know where he is until they physically check it.
Here's my big thing for Ninjas in Pyjamas. You can see what Psycho's doing right now, and Ninjas in Pyjamas have been doing this the entire match, which is clearing from top to bottom to get the roamers. But they do it, and they do it thoroughly. But they do it at a slower pace because they apply less people to this role. You know, they don't stick the whole team on clearing roamers from top to bottom from the get-go. And if there's any hole in that roam clear that Rizraz can find himself in, and potentially late flank from an off-site position, that would win the round outright. But these late flanks from inside, when you're coming off the site and you're trying to get behind your opponents, both teams have been watching those flanks. We saw in the previous round, Rizraz himself was watching the spiral flank and actually clutched up the round there for his team along with Neo, allowing for Fnatic to get the victory. But again, like you said earlier, theory crafting. Ninja Pyjamas have cleared out the roam on the top floor and on the middle floor and forced all of the defenders down into the basement. They've also clamped down on all of the staircases right now, except for yellow stairs, which is so far unguarded, but I'm sure they'll get to it eventually. And that's taken them only half the round to get 2 floors. But, oh, look at that. Neo gets Psycho. That is a huge kill for Neo, and he's done it so many times before reliably. He's going to make it happen once more for his team.
And you can see that if Rizraz does try to get back to site, there was a Claymore placed at the spiral stairs entrance, and that will require at least a frag grenade. Magnet will be found. That was the mute that was playing downstairs by Kamikaze, who in the altercation will lose a chunk of his health, but still managed to make it out alive. You see Julio will have to do even more work upstairs as the sledge was dispatched very first and foremost. And the Zofia does still have the ability to disrupt with the lifeline, but will instead now have to use caliber-based destruction. PZD might go for a push onto yellow stairs as first Candela goes out. Wog waiting to try to work his way in, and from above Julio will punish Neofighter. That's a shot to the head. The bandit is gone. Where is Rizraz? He needs to hurry at some point because you've still got Julio upstairs. PZD will join Wog by the front of White Van. A C4 will go out. It will not hit its target, and PZD works his way in towards Pipes. But can the Pipes player exist? Yes, Lusty will get a kill on a PZD. Goes for a second shutdown. The phone call will give him away, but here's Rizraz coming out. Lusty with it as well, and Julio, last man left in a 3v1. The Aussies in great position to hold on as they just need to start the defuse. Julio just needs to deny it. Is there a plant going down? No. From above, this is going to be a big problem. Fnatic has not done a sufficient job of watching over top, but there you go, Lusty, the clutch, the Aussies will live, and we have a third map as Fnatic will not go away. What a tense moment, and an entire region will pin their hopes on one team on Border.
What a retake from Fnatic. It looked like it was all over for the Aussies, but they managed to retake as the diffuser is being planted. Ninjas of Pyjamas inches away from taking that in the 2-0. This has got to be one of the closest matches we have had so far in the group stages.
Absolutely unbelievable. One of the best matches that I have witnessed here in the group stages. Not even close, Michael. But man, I am jazzercised right now. 2 excellent teams competing. I am fired up and ready to see what happens on Border.
We had 4 people on Fnatic dropping double digits. That's crazy.
Welcome to 13 rounds of Rainbow Six Siege.
Remember that match we had yesterday where 2 people dropping 20 on their own teams? We've had a lot of that happening so far in the group stages actually. A lot of 6-7s. Take a look at the highlights for that match as we break down what happened there. The big thing was in overtime. 3 successful attacks onto the basement. What? Following almost none, all but just one successful attack. And then in overtime, once the rounds become even more weighted, 3. That's very impressive for both teams, but ultimately Fnatic were the ones who managed to bring it out. I said 3, I meant 2. You know what I meant. It was almost, that's the thing. That's the thing, the last one looked like Nit had it. They were inches away, but they couldn't lock it out.
Let's not ignore the fact that this match should have had no business whatsoever going to overtime. This should have been over countless rounds ago because Fnatic shouldn't have lost those 2 rounds. This was Fnatic's map in the bag. They came so close to snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, but they managed to turn it around and they righted the ship just in time. And now Border will await both of these teams in what will probably provide for an even greater conclusion than we just saw. An absolutely astoundingly close match between 2 teams, and keep in mind, Fnatic has never won in a series against Ninjas in Pyjamas, and they now have probably the best opportunity that they're ever going to be given to do so.
That was such a weird match because 2 individual times, it looked like Fnatic were just falling off and they were unable to recover, and they got their second wind, and then they fell off and they got their second wind, and it was inches away from Ninjas of Pyjamas getting that 2-0, and I thought they were going to be able to pull it off there on that last attack, but it just didn't happen. We'll be back shortly after a break for the final map of this series.
Welcome back to the final map of our Group B matchup on the final day of the Paris Major Group Stages. I'm Intero, this is Kickstart.
Hello.
And if you haven't tuned in yet, you've missed what might be one of the most genuinely exciting back and forth contests we've had between two juggernauts of their respective regions, Fnatic and Ninjas in Pyjamas.
It has been a barn burner, and now we're going to the very last map of the series, Border, if I'm not mistaken, which is a really great, I think, final setting to end it on.
Absolutely. A map that we know that NiP is quite proficient at, a map that we know that Fnatic is quite confident on too. So this should be a slugfest that keeps both teams evenly paced with one another. So far, the big story has been for Fnatic an inability to adequately enter the building. They've been getting eaten alive by Ninja in Pyjamas' free-flowing roam game. As for Fnatic as well, their retakes have been almost perfect on most maps. Well, the glaring exception, of course, being the 2 times that they let WoG clutch against them on Consulate.
Those are the only exceptions.
For NiP, they've been doing an excellent job on their executes and have been having such a just absolutely merciless roam game that has just completely baffled the Australian team.
Yeah, it's definitely something that NiP is going to have to shore up, and Fnatic will have to figure out how to deal with as we go into this final map. Thermite banned on Border. We're seeing another one of these, Parker. And Lion, the second ban here. Ninja Pyjamas will have the final ban after banning Thermite, and it's going to be Maestro. And the totally unexpected Mira ban also in there. So these bans make a lot of sense given where we are on Border. Thermite not existing here means the Sabana will be played almost every single round. It also means the attack is going to be in a bit of a corner. Thermite-less Border is hard for the attackers to get any wins on.
Also, the first real opportunity that we're going to get to see Echo in action, and he will probably be brought out in replacing the Maestro pick. Also, doesn't really have much of an utility that really covers up for the fact that you don't have a Mira, but you can still use Echo in a pinch.
Some information, you know, it's better than nothing.
Here's something very interesting. Not only is NiP going to start off on Ventilation Workshop on that main floor, but they're going to do so without the use of one of the most crucial operators in most strategies, the castle.
Absolutely right. Not having a castle while defending that bottom floor means that you have a lot of more horizontal pressure being applied to the roamers, and then by transition, the vertical pressure down to the sites. It's a lot to deal with that NiP doesn't seem to want to stem the flow of. However, we've talked about this before, NiP's roamers are very powerful. And they have the information in their favor. I think for a fluid roaming style of gameplay, you've got the Legion traps, which are going to probably be mostly placed upstairs. You've got the Valkyrie cameras and the Ella Gersmots to potentially catch any roam clear. As well as eventually, once it comes down to it, you do have the Echo and the Smoke to just deny any potential plants. But on the attacker side, you also have a pretty good lineup to clear out roamers. There's no Jackal, of course, but for the most part, like, you know, having the IQ, she's seen a lot less play after her nerf, but having the IQ here is going to be a huge boon for the team.
Obviously, the lack of, as you mentioned, the lack of grenades is definitely going to be a thing. There's no Jaeger on Ninjas and Pyjamas side, though, so Neo Fighter's 2 frag grenades could be particularly vital in the way that these teams play. It's very odd, also, to see a Jaeger foregone on Border, but I suppose he's not an absolute requirement when you're looking at Ventilation Workshop as much as he would be on possibly Customs or even up on the most common bomb site, which is Armory Lockers, which is where Kamikaze is currently playing right now as he sits situated in between Sandwich. I feel like, Michael, we go through this every single time we see Border, but Border is a map where your investment, no matter the site, is going to be quite heavy in that particular area.
It's a big part of attack strategies, defense strategies in general. It's kind of the pivot point of the map. Just like CCTV, you know, both of these positions really play a big role. That was a crazy important C4 from Psycho. We just missed there. It did manage to get 2 Habana Excaros charges, which means now there is just 1, if any, for Lusty, and at most they can open up a little chunk of that Armory wall, which is going to allow the rest of the NiP roamers here in Armory to stay in their positions. They don't have to worry about repositioning back into the site. They also have a Yokai drone doubling up here. As the push comes out, the concussions will come down. Lusty now disoriented, as will be Neo as he gets actually downed. You see more stack up from Fnatic. They want this, but they're going through concussion, smokes, and Julio's actual bullets. Inside of Sandwich is still the smoke, but he whips out the shotgun at the perfect moment to get a down and 2 kills. Kamikaze holding on to Armory. Ace is now the final attacker coming into open area.
I mean, you got the fragging potential of a Dokkaebi there, but he won't frag at all. That's Psycho finishing things off, and Ninjas in Pyjamas will win. Not Fnatic's. That's Fnatic's face, and still fist bumping afterwards.
So that all started with the C4 from Psycho. The ability to disable the Habana pellets there meant that the attack couldn't open up the armory wall, and from there, you saw that Ninjas in Pyjamas, they realized that. They realized that they had managed to get those Habano Excaros, and they stacked up hard on Armory. And as soon as Fnatic went for that push, it was all over. They needed to reevaluate it. They needed to say, okay, they got our Habana pellets, let's go somewhere else, and just go for any other take. Any other take but what they did. And they fell into a bit of a trap. So, nice try there from Fnatic, but the wrong call. Well done to Ninjas in Pyjamas, getting the Habana pellets and then slaughtering Fnatic as they push through the A-wall.
I put them in a position where Fnatic basically just had to engage in a slugfest through a very small opening, which was that doorway past the armory wall, and Nip was set up perfectly to greet them. Not just, you were talking about the bullets, Kamikaze playing in perfect position, but also the Toxic Babes going down. It was a very frustrating situation to find the way that Fnatic played that. They could have possibly rotated at that point, but I think they were already too invested to try and get that push off. We just have a bit of a... Right now it appears that there's just some technical issues that are currently ongoing, which will allow teams to just take a bit of a breather. Actually a situation where can really help teams be able to collect their thoughts, talk to each other, cool off a little bit amidst the heat of the action with a bit of downtime here.
Yeah, moments like these can allow you to focus up. Noticeably quiet on the Fnatic side of this battle. There's Ninjas in Pyjamas, a little bit more vocal. Looks like hopefully those problems have been solved and we might be getting back into it. Yes, indeed. Here we go. Bathroom Tellers. What is this, Parker?
All right.
So Bathroom Tellers as a site is actually fairly decent. The reason we don't usually see it played very much is that it's not a lot of space really to defend. So the way that you hold the site is from above, similar to Customs, but there's less real estate here. It's basically just 2 very small rooms, and then you hold the 2 very small rooms above those 2 very small rooms. Now, not having a Mira is also going to make this site really hard. Usually a big part of this defense is putting a Mira window inside of offices or fountain specifically, facing into archives. And that will cancel out any pressure the attackers can provide from Armory and the north balconies.
If you lose control of offices, you're effectively done at that point. It's very difficult for you to come back from that unless you can somehow have what we see on Bank happen, which is where somebody pushes up those east stairs to try and contest over the hatches. But as you mentioned, the name of the game is absolute control of that second floor and just watching over the offices and fountain area being so crucial, because if you can't hold that area, then it's very easy for teams to be able to get diffuse plant down the bathroom, and then of course bathroom being reasonably sheltered, make it very difficult for the defenders to fight back after the plant goes down. So we'll see how Nip is able to structure this defense. Instead of going for a full barricade, they're going to shoot out a lot of those walls, which means that they're going to be giving long sight lines outside of the actual bomb site. Also means that for possible hard destruction, it'll be a little bit more difficult, because obviously it's a lot easier for you to get those Excaros down on the fortified and reinforced walls than it is to get them through the soft walls that are heavily shot out.
East stairs control, of course, going to be usually the first priority for any attacking team. Though Neo looks like he's just going to completely forego it, at least for now. Kind of an interesting decision there. I mean, obviously Fnatic knows that they need to take control over offices if they want to attack this site. PZD is the only defender in offices right now. As Aces starts to push his way in through the CCTV doorway, PZD is all alone. And he is being collapsed upon by all in fact, 4 attacking operators right now, sort of encapsulated here. We'll see if he is able to deal with this. Of course, he is active bandit tricking right now on the office wall. There is no thermite, so the best that the attackers can hope for here is a small Habana hole, which is still going to be difficult to get through. Grenades and lifelines going out here to deny the active bandit trick, and Lusty will open the wall. Looks like PZD's not even going to try. Probably the right call in that situation, but I cannot get over how light Ninjas of Pyjamas are being on this office hold. It means they've given up vertical control of the site. They are seemingly banking hard on a retake strategy, which is something that has been prevalent for both teams throughout this match. However, it's a bit of a risk on this site in particular.
Oh, it's a huge gamble. We saw Liquid do an attack like this onto G2, and they were still known as Penta in the Atlantic City finals, was that Liquid stacked themselves so that when the workshop vents was attacked, they completely collapsed on Penta as they tried to transition out of the plant stage. We'll see what NiP can do this time around. Also, just as a side note, looked like Neofighter had the iron sights on his SMG-11, so that could necessarily mean that he wasn't the most prepared to pick up that sledge. But he's going to get 1 kill on the Psycho. Kamikaze down 2 as Aces picks up his first kill of the round. And NiP, though, winning round number 1, find themselves playing from behind. And they will continue to grow as Rizraz takes out PZD. And I mean, you mentioned a retake strategy. Mighty difficult to retake when it's a 2v5. I think that a 1v5 as Wog is down. Julia will try to get a C4, but will not connect. He'll push out of workshop. Phone calls. He'll engage in a fight with the Zofia of Magnet. He's got the MPX at head level and can possibly go for the frags if he's won. He'll get it down into Neofighter, which means that it will not be a flawless round from Fnatic, but they will win it nonetheless as they get the final kill, and they'll tie things up.
Well, Parker, either NiP were banking on a retake strategy or they just didn't have a strategy there on that Bathroom Teller's defense, because that was a really poor hold of the offices.
That was brutally inefficient.
Yeah, the way to hold Bathroom Tellers is just from offices. You need to hold that position. And the reason you usually don't see it when Mira is banned is very specifically because Mira aids you in holding office quite a lot. But an oversight made by NiP and a ruthless attack from Fnatic. You may have noticed that they invested a lot of utility in opening up that office wall. Possibly some people might say too much, but again, you know, it's just the level of importance that Fnatic were putting on offices as stands to reason, and the level of neglect Ninjas of Pyjamas had towards that position. So, bit of an oddity, but it's what's happened, and now we will be moving on to an armory defense from NiP.
It's also much more difficult to roam on that site, right? Because you basically just need to breach through one wall and then you have control over top of the site, providing that there's not an investment in that office. It's not like you have to work your way through half of the map to get there, which means that NiP's traditional strategy of chewing up a lot of time, playing loose with a vigil, playing loose with an alibi, it's not effective because they can't do it because the site doesn't allow it to be a viable strategy. So a very interesting choice for NiP, but I'm glad that they're going to go with the more typical site here for round number 3. Should bode well for their chances. I mean, it certainly, at face value, was a much better choice than Bathroom Tellers most of the time.
Now, Armory, as you said, probably a better choice than Bathroom Tellers. They could have gone here earlier, but they chose not to. They're probably just trying to be a little bit of a mix-up, but it didn't adhere to their playstyle. Right. Now, Fnatic have a lot of choices here, but I don't think that A-Wall is one of them. It seems like they're stacking up on it regardless. The big problem with what A-Wall is a couple things. First of all, you could see from the first round that Ninjas of Pyjamas have a lot of utility to deny those Excaros being detonated on the wall. They're ready to C4 or Bandit trick whenever they need. Second thing is, well, it's Habana, not a thermite. So the holes that you can get on this wall are not nearly as large as they would be if you had the exothermic charge. Yet, regardless, the Fnatic are stacking up on this take. It seems to be their clear plan.
That ADS will grab Neofighter's first frag grenade that he throws in with a little bit of reckless abandon, and they'll now decide to burn it with both the lifelines as well as the flash. But there you go. It should get one of the bandit charges without exposing themselves. I'm confused as to why we don't see Fnatic putting anybody below. But it also doesn't look like they're going to try to get the bandit in there. Julio realizing that it's way too late and gets off of the wall. So this is something that Fnatic was not able to do in round number 1 when they were trying to take the armory wall, which was actually get the X-Kairos charges off successfully. That forced Julio to have to play from behind. It will now also open up part of the site so that Nip can't hold on to that half-wall area of A without rotating in there. Also, worth noting that both PZD and Psycho are currently having a slumber party in the midst of Sandwich just playing next to the lockers. First kill is going to go to Julio. He tosses to the C4, and that's Neo down.
Finishing up the hole here for Lusty. You see some of the X-Kairos deleted, but oof, that's gotta hurt. Making that hole not exactly traversable, though possibly. There might be a way to wiggle through it. It will be a lot more difficult than it should be. Which means that Fnatic are going to have to use the doorway. Magnet has also transitioned over here to the ventilation balcony, and Rizraz is going to get a kill from the main hallway onto Julio, who is completely exposed to him. That was a very important kill, but only 30 seconds left. Here come the phone calls from Aces, trying to disrupt Ninjas of Pyjamas as much as possible. Lots of information just gathered. Final phone call on the final 20 seconds. And here comes the rest of the utility from Fnatic as they start their very many-pronged attack. Lightly spread out, Lusty will get PZD, Kamikaze and Psycho get their own kills though. As Lusty starts moving his way through the A wall, it's just going to leave Magnet moving into the site. He does not have time to plant the diffuser, and Ninjas of Pyjamas will take it on time because Fnatic were just too uncertain where they wanted to push from.
A war of attrition between the two teams as they literally just bleed each other's utility dry. Also, one thing that I wanted to note on was because of the audio call, we could hear that Wog has only been using one Echo drone and keeping the other one held in his pocket. Obviously a risky gamble because if he gets picked early on, then you don't even have the Yokai drones around to possibly give you some surveillance on the site. But a smart move if you know that you're playing sheltered enough because you don't have to worry about the IQ, who at that point is not going to be in hunt the Yokai mode. She'll be in let's kill players mode. That you can have that Yokai pop out of nowhere after you think that you've taken care of it, and it can save the day in the dying moments of a round. Ultimately, like you mentioned, that multi-pronged attack from Fnatic, it didn't have as much focus, I think, as they wanted. You had Magnet playing in a position in Office, had full control of the site, and had he had that diffuser, could have gotten the plant down with a lot of ease, as it didn't look like there was anybody, not even the Yokai drone, watching into archives. But a successful defense for Ninjas in Pyjamas, and we hit the 4th round, which means that they can go back down to ventilation and tellers, which is where they are going to go. The one site that we know that they are successful on, largely because of their ability to hold that armory wall upstairs, as was shown in round number 1.
And so by extension also successful on armory.
Yes.
Able to hold anything that involves that top floor, the armory lockers area. Fnatic, on the other hand, struggling to take that particular position. We'll see if they can change that in this round. They're certainly going to have to if they want to have a chance in this match. If Ninjas of Pyjamas can just keep going back and forth between armory and ventilation, then they'll have a lot more rounds on this first half. Only 2 more rounds left in this first half, though, so only 2 more potential defenses for Nip. And since they just did win the armory, and if they do win the ventilation, then they're going to have to go somewhere else, either customs or tellers. Now, Psycho roaming inside of CCTV is an aggressive play, one that we haven't seen a whole lot of. He's just, oh wow, okay, immediately falling off. Kind of an odd choice there from Psycho. Not wasting any time at all. Maybe he's reading into the Fnatic push. They have a lot of people downstairs already. Possibly could be Fnatic choosing to forego taking the top floor and focusing their efforts on a customs into ventilation push. We've seen these before, and you already have 2 people coming out of jail just now into customs. You got Rizraz with the backup of Neo just behind him, and Ace is pushing in through Passport while Magnet pressures from the B window. So it looks like a hammer and anvil strategy here for Fnatic. Ninjas of Pyjamas, though, are roaming upstairs, so this could be circulated behind the rest of the Nip roamers.
I don't know if Magnet saw that, But
What happened?
Julio just crossed in front of the broken panel of the window and exposed himself for a second. Magnet might have seen it, but just didn't simply have the reflexes to be able to capitalize on it. But that was a risky move by Julio. I mean, he was trapped, he had to get out of there, and he knew that he was pressured, but Julio will return to that little cubby hole that he's playing just by the window to see if somebody's going to peek him. Of course, Magnet has retreated from that position and is nowhere nearby. So Julio will just sit there just waiting and just try to anchor down on B. With Wog and Psycho downstairs, this is one of the biggest issues that we've seen on Border from Fnatic so far, is their inability to attack the other floor successfully. When they were attacking upstairs, they did not really have the pressure from below, and that was a significant hindrance to them. It sounds like a toxic babe, and I mentioned that Julio got quite aggressive, and he will. Magnet, who comes back to the window, will not have more than a couple seconds left on his life as Julio rotates through the open slot and gets the kill onto the Zofia. Final phone call from Aces will go, and it was used earlier to try and possibly do some entry clearing, but it didn't net them any success whatsoever. Rizraz does spot Wog as he moves up, and that's the Echo, who possibly could have been holding on to one of his Yokai drones. Kamikaze trades up onto Lusty, who for just a second does see the smoke, but what a long-range shotgun shot from Kamikaze, able to take it to the body of Lusty. Neofighter and Rizraz are circling in, though, on the current site, and you're going to need to drop as PZD is above. Diffuser, however, nowhere near them. It's outside as Magnet was holding on to it just before he died. They're going to have to frag out, and there's only one left. They'll have to find PZD, who all the Ela needs to do is kill 15 seconds. Fnatic does not have the diffuser. They are not close enough. They will finally pick it up, but they have to get to the site. 5 seconds left, and PZD's in a great position. Fnatic, terrible time management. He sees one, PZD takes out Aces, but amidst the smoke, will go for it. PZD, the clutch! How does Fnatic let that slip away? Poor coordination. Nip reads into it perfectly and closes things down 3-1.
The round was going so well for Fnatic, and then suddenly it was over when the diffuser was dropped on the top floor on that Habana entry. A huge miscalculation, and I have to say, I really want to see Fnatic stop trying to clear Armory. They have tried and failed 3 times to clear that Armory lockers area. They need to apply their focus elsewhere. There were so many opportunities to just push the site and plant the friggin' diffuser, but instead, they tried to clear the top floor again. And with one person holding the diffuser, what's going on there? What's the thought process? There can't possibly be one. Ninjas and Pyjamas put themselves up 3-1 in the final map of the series. They're looking strong in this first half. And now that we'll go to Customs as the final site.
One thing that we really haven't been able to delve into, because most of Pro League has been operating under best of, well, all of Pro League has been operating under best of ones, is the thought process behind map bans. This was something that we could delve into previously in seasons where best of 3 was the default formula for teams to play under, but now that it's best of ones, there isn't as much necessarily theory behind why teams ban certain maps. It's quite possible that Fnatic lost the ban phase. Now, we know that Fnatic are not a terrible border team.
10 seconds left.
We do know that Ninjas and Pyjamas is a pretty good border team. Could this be the edge that they need? They could have just simply managed to outfox the Australians in the ban phase. We don't really know that question definitively. If we had Wilkie here, though, with his magical book of map stats.
See, the thing is, I don't think it actually comes down to... Yeah, Wilkie could probably stay. But I don't think it comes down to map preference per se anymore. And it's not because of the best of one. I think it mostly is just the 7 maps in the map pool, man. You know, that's not a lot for you to practice. When you compare it to what we used to have, 9 maps you had to practice on, 7, you know, most teams can be proficient at all 7 of those maps, especially a map like Border. You know, we're looking at Border, and yeah, maybe one team's gonna be a little bit more favored here, but truth be told, it's Border. This is like one of the most competitive maps in all of Siege. Every single team should have a good array of strategy here, and we've been seeing that from both Fnatic and NiP so far. They clearly have an understanding of strategy. Fnatic's attacks have been pretty bad, but we'll see what happens when they go to defense. It could change. That's all I'm saying.
The frustrating point, if you're a fan of Fnatic on that round, was that they had almost full site control. They just really needed to worry about 2 above. They could have gotten in and planted and put Nip in a position where they had to retake. Here comes the entry clear, but Kamikaze, a beautiful shot on the Magnet. Aces will find his teammate as Psycho, and as Neophyter works his way in, will finally get the downed Kamikaze, which will be a pretty successful way into CCTV. And keep in mind, this is Customs that they're defending, and now CCTV is firmly Fnatic's. That's a great position to find yourself in. And you did so in 90 seconds. That's good clock utilization as well.
Yeah, Fnatic understanding that they cannot be inefficient anymore and really clamping down on that. Good changes made from the Aussies. Ninjas and Pyjamas now the ones at the disadvantage here, but they are starting to waste some clock. As you can see, we're getting down to the last minute. Despite this control from Fnatic, they're not really doing anything with it right now. They also got a Yokai drone earlier. That was a pretty big destruction. But from above, Rizraz gets wagged.
Wog doesn't look like he's even spawned in at that point, just staring up.
Yeah, bad positioning there. PCD gonna put down some fire above as well into Neo.
And whether they found the Yokai drone or not, the drones will be disabled effectively. They will just be stationary cameras at this point. Julio will work his way up. 2 for Julio, my. Rizraz and Neo not watching, and PZD playing at the bottom of the stairs. This was a round that, if there was somebody watching flank, Fnatic would be coming out of this relatively in good shape. But you've still got to keep in mind of where the 2 members of NIP are. Aces will just tear through PZD, and the last one left is Julio, who will find one. Julio in great spot. He's only got 1 left, getting a couple pings in, possibly from the Yokai drone, and Julio gets lit up 1 shot away. Can he capitalize on the Hibana? Julio a clutch! NIP right now have everything going in their favor, and Fnatic a debilitating round. That's a 4-1 scoreline through the first half as we go into the side change.
A 1 versus 4 effectively there for Julio. That is just not supposed to happen. A huge mistake made by Fnatic, again costing them a round. I would like to remind all of you that if it had not been for 2 massive mistakes now over the 2 rounds, it would be a 3-2 in Fnatic's favor. This is a terrible situation to be in right now. Ninjas and Pyjamas playing absolutely perfectly as well. While Fnatic are making mistakes, I think we're forgetting that Ninjas and Pyjamas aren't. They're playing really quite well.
And that's what happens with experienced teams like this. This is what multiple lands will give you, playing with the same people who you can rely upon. When you are presented with a weakness, your ability to spring to action is a real testament to the experience of your team and to the composure and skill of your team. And this is Ninjas and Pyjamas literally lapping up every single drop of water that Fnatic is giving them.
So well done to NIP. They only have to get 2 more rounds to win this out. Meanwhile, Fnatic have to make up a 3-round stretch to get themselves back into it. They'll be going to an Armory defense and extending themselves into CCTV, going for a 75% hold. Now, this is a bit of a gamble, but it could very well pay off if NIP are not ready for it. However, NIP have historically had very good roam clear, and this might really hurt Fnatic, especially considering Mira has been banned, and that south-facing Mira window is an integral part of this hold.
If I was Fnatic, I would have taken a tactical timeout at this point. I'm assuming they're probably going to hold off to see what happens here, but once again, we could find ourselves in the same position that they found themselves in on Bank, which is that you take your tactical timeout right as the game is essentially over. Coming back from a 5-1 scoreline, I don't know if a tactical pause is going to fix that. I don't know if you can conjure up enough magic to be able to make that work. But
well, I mean, even if you do win 3 rounds in a row, you still have to win another round at that point, right?
Absolutely. And all NIP needs is 1 round to guarantee overtime. And that's a scary predicament to find Fnatic in, and it can be very demotivating knowing that you have so much play ahead of you in order to get onto the same level. Anywho, Armory Lockers is going to be defense number 1. They've left this wall completely soft here. They've reinforced CCTV instead. We've seen mixtures of this kind of strategy where teams will shoot out one of the walls and leave the other open up. Interesting to see what they're going to be able to accomplish with that, though there isn't really much of a pressure in CCTV outside of Neophyter and Magnet. Magnet won't even be that much more alert as he gets destroyed, and then Neophyter. This is methodical from NiP right now. They are firing on all cylinders, and that's 2 kills, and they have now taken CCTV as well, but Rizraz, with a long angle playing inside a fountain, able to find Psycho.
If Rizraz had not gotten that kill, the round would be basically over, but he did manage to get something in his team's favor. And we're coming down to the last minute. It has taken 2 whole minutes for Ninjas in Pyjamas to get CCTV control. And ooh, a Frost Trap is going to get Kamikaze. Nice shots come out in the chat. As you can see, Kamikaze outskilled there. And he will eventually be picked up, but some damage done. And that's the most important thing to take away from the round. Aces has Yokai drone still in play. The soft wall means that these soft destructors from NiP are going to be able to have easy access into the A site. But that is something that Fnatic are counting on. So we come down to the last 40 seconds. Only 1 gas grenade for Lusty, and he's going to use it in the last 30. Repel on Sandwich could be the perfect pinch for this push. As we come down to it, here we go.
And Aces will equalize, giving us a 3v3 as PZD will fall. So you've lost your Sledge and your Ash. Those are 2 great fraggers for NiP. They still have, well, actually their whole lineup is actually quite proficient here at being able to kill. Julio looked like he was almost going to be able to get a shot into the underbelly of the smoke of Lusty, but a spring in from NiP is rebuffed. Leave just Julio last man standing, but once again, the clutch potential of Julio. He doesn't hold the diffuser though, so he will just need to simply get the diffuser kill time, but where's the smoke? He doesn't see it. No planting opportunity, and Fnatic will get a win that they absolutely needed. That was a critical victory for them. And you can see some elation from the team as smiles. They needed that win to hang in there. They were gifted at that. They almost lost that one as well. The amount of rounds, if you were to go down this entire score sheet, the amount of rounds that Fnatic should have won, but didn't, so high that there's gotta be the pendulum swinging back. And there's gotta be. You gotta say at some point that NiP are gonna start losing rounds that they should have won as well. It's just the way the ebb and flow should work.
I feel like if Fnatic won every round that they were supposed to win, they would have qualified already in first place out of their group, because that's the big thing with this team. They always set themselves up to win rounds and then somehow don't.
Yes.
And we saw that same thing actually yesterday from NiP, but today, not the case. Now, that was probably the first example of it happening for NiP so far. I mean, really, that stands out to me. Julia was unable to get that final kill. One thing that also stands out to me, notice how Julio was the hunter and that smoke was the hunted. It looked like Fnatic were playing really quite scared in that round. And it had to do with the timing. Of course, stay alive, win the round. But still, it's a lot of pressure that Ninjas in Pyjamas right now are exerting onto their opponents indirectly, not just through getting kills, not just through getting control, and doing it so... The main thing is they're doing it so ruthlessly. And they're putting Fnatic mentally in a bad spot.
The most important part of that round, I think, is that you saw that they smiled and they were happy and they were in it.
Yeah.
Because Fnatic all too often will cut to a camera of Fnatic and they are all sitting there and they just look glum and upset and completely out of it. And that is the wrong mindset to have if you want to be able to mount a comeback. And a comeback that is going to be very difficult, as Ninjas in Pyjamas has quite a lead, but we've seen the tide turn between these two teams a number of times. Downstairs on the ventilation and workshop, we'll see if Fnatic are better suited on defense than they were on attack. They only took 1 on the first split. They have already matched that on defense in just 1 round.
Now, I know Fnatic just won that last round, but this is also a moment where I would be taking a tactical pause. I would be trying to set up the proper strategy for these coming rounds, making sure that everything's lined up and ready to go. Ninjas in Pyjamas have the right tools to clear out these roamers upstairs. They've got a jackal of all operators on border. They know what they want to put emphasis on. That's a big difference between NiP and Fnatic throughout these matches, the 2 that they've had. NiP always seems hyper-focused on what they know they need to do. Fnatic also, on the other hand, kind of struggles to find a clear objective. PZD gonna get Rizraz all the way over in office. He also drones out the smoke of Lusty playing in archives. This could be a pretty easy kill. Maybe a nade over the top, maybe just coming around with his own SMG-11 and getting the victory on the engagement. Mark's coming out from his teammate. That's gonna force Lusty to drop. Smart call there from Lusty, not trying to hold on. And that will give Ninjas in Pyjamas top floor control in its entirety. They have armory, they have offices, they have CCTV. It only took them 2 minutes, and that's a common trait with them. If they want to clear out roamers on any map, it usually only takes them 2 minutes, and then they know they have that final minute for the assault.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious to see how quick Nip is at their executes, and yes, and oh, what a shot from PZD from above. Neo Fighter tries to cross underneath the open hole that the Sledge had created just moments before. It looks like he's going to get another. PZD is just wreaking havoc, dropping bombs from above. Lusty falls 2, and now Nip is in a very strong position. 5v2 with some time left. Psycho will get Magnet, and Aces is in a 1v5. We saw him ace clutch before. He'll have to do it again, but will be deprived of that opportunity by the aforementioned Jackal. And Psycho getting the kill that is needed to put Ninjas in Pyjamas onto match point and give Latin America its first good look at a team making it to the quarterfinals.
It looks like Nip is all set up to lock this one out. I don't know if we can see the incredible feat of 3 rounds in a row at this point from Fnatic, considering how close these teams really are. That's the really big thing that's so disheartening about this match. Nip and Fnatic are both so close skill-wise, strategy-wise. You know, there's I think some things to be left wanting from Fnatic on attacks, but still, you want this to go all the way to overtime here on this 3rd map, because what that map we saw, the 2nd one on Consulate, was just so incredible when all the stops, all the barriers were seemingly torn away from both teams.
I really wish that Fnatic had a 1 bank border this map. If Nip wins it, would be map 2, and then Consulate was our concluding map. Doesn't matter who wins, whether it's Fnatic or Nip. I want it to go.
Just the order of maps to be different.
Yeah, I want it to go. I don't care if Fnatic ends up winning it or Nip ends up winning it. It doesn't really matter to me who the winner is, but I just want it to go to like ultimate overtime of overtime.
Right.
On Consulate, final matchup, because this is the last match that you and I are going to be casting before the playoffs start on Friday, and it would have been one heck. I think you called it a barn burner. I think that is absolutely correct. So it would have been nice to see a map like Consulate. I mean, maybe Border can still get there, but Fnatic is really going to have to tighten up their game because Nip is just running away with this one, and they're looking so good.
Maybe someone could just edit the VODs, copy the Consulate map, put it behind the Border map, and we'll just end it like that.
5 seconds left.
But
they'd be pretty confused, though, if that was to happen, that Fnatic would win the last map, yet Nip is the one that goes on.
we just
Okay.
Parker, it's okay. Just pretend it didn't happen that way. No, but Fnatic could still bring it back. Fnatic could still bring it back. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
We wrote, to be fair, we wrote them off on Consulate. We were wrong. So I think credit where credit is due. We said that, you know, if they lose this round, it's pretty much over. And they ended up losing that round. And guess what? It pretty much wasn't over. But Nip,
well, it pretty much was, but it wasn't, though.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been. Conventional wisdom was that this is all said and done. That's the ball game, as baseball-loving North Americans and various other international folk would say. But
Always.
There you have it. Wog working his way towards the east stairs. He'll shoot out the camera and then be confronted by a mute jammer, which is positioned on the wall looking from offices out onto the balcony. It will likely require a frag grenade to take care of that, as Ninjas in Pyjamas does not run a Thatcher and only very rarely will run a Twitch.
Now, they need to clear out these roamers on the top floor. You can see the bathroom tellers hold for Fnatic, and they, unlike their predecessors here, are very invested in this office hold. Magnet's gonna get PZD, Psycho narrowly missing a shot there onto the Jaeger's head. And, what? What?
A collateral of sorts as Psycho gets aces and Rizraz.
Huge misplay.
That could have been it for this round and for this series.
I cannot fathom what was going through Fnatic's minds. Their aces in, Riz making a big mistake, and now when they had the advantage, they've let it slip away. Ninjas in Pyjamas will have full top control. The rest of the roamers will fall back to site. Magnet playing by Passport, Neo in the main hallway downstairs, and Lusty in the bathroom. Not a lot of control here for Fnatic. They're just betting on the retake.
That's a heartbreaker in what could be the round that gives Ninjas in Pyjamas this potential series. So to have that happen, that is really frustrating for you to go back and reassess and know that just a simple rotate could have possibly prevented that. Final minute on match point for Ninjas in Pyjamas, the Brazilian team looking to secure Latin America's first and what would be only spot in the quarterfinals thus far, as Team Liquid and Immortals were eliminated earlier on in the group stages. Obviously, Ninjas in Pyjamas don't want to find themselves in that same fate. Jackal track going out for the mute of Neophyter as lots of footprints being spotted above, and Nip in the early stages of their execute. They'll drop down knowing that there's one playing in the bathroom stall. Kamikaze will just wait. The smoke very patient as they clamp down. Start writing it as Psycho takes out Lusty, and Kamikaze now waiting for the push. You've got two members of NIP just waiting for Fnatic to emerge from where they are playing. Kamikaze will take out Neo, and Magnet, last man standing as Latin America looks poised to get their first representative to play on the main stage on Friday. Magnet trying to stop it. He'll get 1 and 2. This is a winnable situation. Wog will get the plant down. Sophia gets picked back up. Kamikaze will wait and will be felled. Magnet in a 1v2. This is going to be extremely difficult as both Wog and Julio have managed to make it out of the building. A pre-fire from Magnet with next to no HP. Anything shot on any part of his body will be all that it's needed. And of course, waiting for the audio cue as Ninjas in Pyjamas will just be as patient as they need to be. No worry about peeking whatsoever. A pre-fire will stop Magnet in his tracks, but running out of time, Julio will secure Nip's spot, and Latin America will have representation on the main stage.